Kumusta na mga kariyo? Tuloy natin ang decision analysis. So for now, this is optimizing scarce resources. So what is optimizing scarce resources? So class, in real-world situations, ang isang company, pag nagbenta yan, hindi lang naman iisang product eh. Pag nagbenta yan, multiple products talaga. Di ba? Multiple yan, kahit nga sari-sari store eh. Kaya tinawag na sari-sari store kasi marami siyang binebenta. So, ang question lang doon ngayon is, what is the best combination of products that will maximize my profits? Yun ang best product combination. Okay? So, class, tuloy natin to. What is our decision guide? Ang decision guide natin is highly dependent on a given situation. Depende yan if you have limited resources. If there are limited resources, class, pag meron tayong limited na resource, what is an example of a limited resource? Limited ang machine hours, limited ang space, limited ang budget, limited ang machine hours. Those are constraints. In statistics or in mathematics, we call it as constraints. Layman's terms, we just call it as limited resources. Now, if there are limited resources, our decision guide is to maximize or prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per limited resource. In contrast, class, what if we don't have a limited resource? We have all the resources in the world. Okay, kaya natin. Mayaman, no? Mayamanin yung company natin. May kulang na resource, bili ka lang. So if that is the situation, class, ang priority natin, babalik na yan sa principles ng cost, volume, profit, and break-even point. Principles of cost, volume, profit, and break-even point, prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per unit. Ito na yun, class. So, be careful ha. So, every time na mag-solve tayo ng problem sa ganito, anong titignan mo? Ano nga ba muna yung situation ko? Meron bang limited resource? Prioritize CMU per limited resource. There is no limited resource? Prioritize product with the highest contribution margin per unit. Okay? Class, madali lang to. Example or illustration. The Dallas Mufflers manufactures 3 different product lines, Model X, Y, and Z. Considerable market demand exists for all models. The following per unit data apply. We have Model X, Model Y, and Model Z. Selling price, materials, labor, variable support cost, and fixed support cost. Class, tingnan mo to ha. Tingnan mo to. So, meron tayong variable support cost, that is 5 pesos per machine hour. Ito naman si labor, 10 pesos per hour. Ano kaya yung, ano yung limited resource niya, kung meron man? Ito na siya. So, for each model, compute the contribution margin per unit. For each model, compute the contribution margin per machine hour. O, class, doon pa lang, meron na tayo kaagad clue. What is the limited resource of the company? It is the machine hours. Kasi tingnan mo to ha, if there's excess capacity, what is the model? Which model is the most profitable to produce? O class, pag may excess capacity, ano sabi natin kanina? Prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per unit. Letter D, class, if there's machine breakdown, which model is most profitable? Pag machine breakdown, class, ano na yan? It is already the prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per limited resource. Sa situation na to, per machine hour. And finally, what is letter E? How can the Dallas encourage her sales people to promote the more profitable model? Qualitative factors. Okay? So, class, tuloy natin to. So, anyway, balikan muna natin siya para alam natin ilan yung machine hours. For Model X class, that is 5 pesos per machine hour. So, 1 hour for Model X. For Model Y, that should be 2 hours. And for Model Z, that should also be 2 hours. Alright? So, class, ito na yung number 1 natin, contribution margin per unit. Okay, class, wala namang bago dyan eh. Ang contribution margin per unit is still selling price per unit minus variable cost pa rin. So, for Model X, Y, and Z, that should be 30, 35, and 40 pesos respectively. Okay? So, class, ganun lang yan ha. Ganun lang. Okay, baka problemahin mo pa yan. 80 minus 30, 15, and 5. Okay? So, nothing new. Nothing new. See? That's 30, 35, and 40 respectively. Question letter B, what is the contribution margin per machine hour? Kanina, di ba? Nilagay natin doon 1 hour, 2, and 2 hours respectively. So, pag dinivide natin yan, ito na magiging sagot. Model X, Y, and Z, 30, 17, 50, and 20 pesos respectively. Now, here comes the decision analysis. When there is excess capacity, which is more profitable to produce? Class, ang sagot doon, it is Model Z. Model Z because it is the one with the highest contribution margin per unit. Diba, class? Per unit. In contrast sa letter D naman, if there is a limited, pag limited yung machine hour capacity natin, what is our priority? It is the product with the highest contribution margin per machine hour. Okay? So class, sa situation natin na to, ang mangyari dito is what? Okay, so that should be, okay, so class, this should be model X dapat ito. Okay, so wait lang class ha, wait lang. Ayan class, it should be model X. Model X because it has the highest contribution margin per unit of 30 pesos. Tama? So model X. So tandaan nyo na, pag meron tayong, if there are no limited resources, it is contribution margin per unit. But if there are limited resources, it is not the contribution margin per limited resource. Okay, that's letter D. Now, letter E. Aside from those factors, ano pa pwedeng gawin ni Nodalos para encourage niya na ibenta yung mas profitable product? Ang sagot doon, class, qualitative factor, provide them incentives. Magbigay ka ng incentive to your salesperson for selling the more profitable product. Okay? So class, alam nyo, doon sa drill questions natin, we have more challenging problems related to this. Meron pa tayo doon capacity planning, meron pa tayo doon discussion ng ng combination ng products, ilan yung magiging contribution margin niya. So, yung mga twist and turns ng problems related to this is presented in the drill questions. Ang gusto ko lang na makita nyo muna dito is the basic concepts, the basic skills that you need to develop for you to, at least at a minimum, answer yung mga problems related to this. Okay? Yung mga twist and turn, depende na kasi yan sa given situation. Marami tayo niyan dun sa drill questions natin. Alright? So, let's continue. Class, by the way, etong present ko sa inyo, etong kay Nodalos, ang assumption natin dito is, ang limited resource isa lang. Pating discussion natin kanina, eto class, ang assumption natin dyan, there's only one limited resource. The question is, or the problem is, what if I have multiple limited resources? What will be my approach in determining the best combination of my products? Ang sagot doon, class, is, eto na siya. It becomes linear programming. So, the linear programming is an approach. It is a quantitative approach that is used to determine the best combination of products that will maximize our profits. Yung presentation ko ngayon sa inyo, okay, yung presentation natin ngayon, araw na to, or itong discussion na to, is only limited for relevant costing. But, para sigurado, bibigyan pa rin kita ng example ng linear programming. But, this will be fully discussed, madidiscuss ulit to under quantitative techniques, which is the next topic after relevant costing. Okay? So, class, anyway, ganito yan. Sa linear programming, because this is algebra, and algebra, computing two or more missing variables kasi to. So, dapat marunong tayo mag-algebra. Class, algebra ha. Ayan, based on history, ang daming nagtatanong sa akin na estudyante natin, nahirapan sa algebra class. Ang algebra, high school pa lang yun. Tapos senior high school, may algebra ulit. Tapos doon sa college, application of algebra na. So, dapat at this point, marunong na tayo mag-algebra. Okay? So, class, pag hindi ka marunong, manood ka ng YouTube videos on how to compute for one missing variable, two missing variables. Kasi kailangan natin yung skill na yan. Hindi lang sa management accounting. Even in all other subjects, in the board exam, dapat marunong ka sa algebra. Skill yan ng isang accountant. Okay, so class, eto muna, going back to our discussion. Diba? Nag-rant pa yan, no? Nag-sermon pa. Okay, sorry na po. Okay, so class, eto yan yung object function natin. The object function is what you're trying to maximize. So, what we're trying to maximize is, in fact, short-run profitability. It is the contribution margin of the first product plus the contribution margin of the second product plus the contribution margin of the nth product pag marami pa tayong products. Pero kadalasan sa board exam, ang sinasagutan lang natin dyan is dalawang products lang naman. Kasi pag dumami ang class, medyo mas complicated na. Okay? And we also have the constraints. What are constraints? Ang constraints are the limited resources. Kadalasan class, doon sa algebra, ang presentation natin ng constraint would look like this. Example, this is your first product, this is your second product. It will consume, example lang ha, 5 hours of machine A. That is for product X. For product Y naman, it will consume 6 hours of machine X. Yun na ibig sabihin yan. Now, you might be wondering, sir, bakit less than or equal yan? It is less than or equal because this is actual production class, actual consumption of hours. This is budget hours. Tandaan nyo to. Actual hours can never exceed budget hours. Kaya it is less than. Or, actual hours can be equal to. It can be equal to the budget hours. Kaya equal siya. But, actual hours can be lower than the budget hours. Kaya nag-less than or equal yan. So class, logic lang yan eh. Logic lang yan. In one day, there are 24 hours. Tama? Sa isang araw, there are 24 hours. Can you work for exactly 24 hours in one day? Yes. Equal yan. Di ba class? Equal yan. Can you work for less than 24 hours in one day? Yes. 8 hours lang yung average. Di ba? So less than 24 hours yon. But, can you work more than 24 hours in one day? Ang sagot doon, class, no. Kaya eto yan. Kaya eto yan. Less than or equal. This is actual hours. This is budget hours. Para maintindihan mo kung bakit ganyan. And what is feasible solution? Class, ang feasible solution naman is the combination of your products. Combination na yan. So, pag combination of our products, it becomes what? It is either equal or greater than 0. So, bakit equal or greater than 0? Because there's no such thing as negative production. It's either nag-produce ka ngayon. So, class, pag nag-produce ka, it is positive production or no production. What is no production? Zero production. Kaya equal or greater than 0. But never less than 0 because there is no such thing as negative production. Okay? So class, yun lang yung logic ng mga equation na yan. Kasi kadalasan, pag tinuturo sa atin to, doon sa undergrad or doon sa high school, hindi tinuturo ni teacher ano yung logic niyan. Kaya ikaw tuloy nahihirapan ka. Hindi mo na ma-appreciate yung algebra mo. Di ba? So class, ganyan lang yung logic niyan. Okay, layman's discussion. Now, ang linear programming can also be presented in a graph. O class, parang ito. Pag pre-reset natin yan sa graph, production. Ito naman class, ito, yung combination of your products. Ayan, product X, product Y. Yan lang class. Okay, anyway, meron tayo nito. Meron tayo. So, tapos ang tawag natin dito later on class, the feasible region. Feasible region yan. Anyway, sige, mukhang alien na yung pinagsasabi ko sa inyo, no? Example tayo. This is ang linear programming class is as algebraic approach, but it was adopted in accounting. Ginamit natin yan for our decision analysis. So, syempre, since this is adopted, we have to stick with the rules of those who formulated the approach. Kigo Enterprises manufactures two products, both wax and car wax, into departments, the mixing department and the packaging department. The mixing department has 800 hours per month available, and the packaging department has 1,200 hours per month available. Class, what is 800 and 1,2? Those are the limited resources. Those are your constraints. Production of the two products cannot exceed 36,000 pounds. Data on the two products follow. O class, ito na yung ating contribution margin. Ang contribution margin natin, kailangan natin yan para sa Zmax. So class, both wax 200 and then 150 for car wax. Now, ito yung magiging constraints natin. Hours per 100 pounds of mixing. So class, mixing, both wax will consume 5 hours of mixing. Car wax will consume 2 hours of mixing. That will be your first constraint. Your second constraint is both wax will consume 3 hours of packaging and car wax naman will consume 6 hours of packaging. So questions are, what is the optimal mix of products to be manufactured? Class, if the question is optimal mix, pag optimum, uubusin natin yung available production hours. Uubusin natin lahat yan. Yung dalawang yan. Okay, ubusin natin yan to get the optimal mix. Ayun. So class, ito na siya. How much is the profit using the optimal mix? Okay? So class, ang gagawin lang natin, we develop kasi algebra to, we develop your equations, di ba? Equations. Object function muna. Zmax is equal to 200b plus 150c. What are the constraints? Class constraint, 5b plus 2c is less than or equal to 800. Saan ang galing yan? Class, ito yan. 5b plus 2C is less than or equal to 800, yung 800 hours available for mixing. Do the same with packaging. That is 3B plus 6C is less than or equal to 1, 2. What is your feasible solution? That is B is equal or greater than 0. C is equal or greater than 0. Kasi number of units to be produced. Ito. And then class, we will now compute for the value of B and C using linear programming. Linear programming is a mathematical tool intended to compute for two missing variables simultaneously. Ito na siya, class. Okay, ito na siya. So ngayon, we're going to simplify. Pag sinimplify mo to, pansin nyo class, nag-equal na siya, nawala na si less than because you're going to optimize. Optimize resources means susulitin mo, uubusin mo yung resources mo para ma-maximize natin yung total output. Kaya siya tinawag na optimization. So class, ito na yan, di ba? So ngayon, ang objective natin sa linear programming is dapat one of the variables should be eliminated. Dapat matanggal yung isa dito. So, first candidate is, it is product C, or this is car wax. Kasi class, ito yan, di ba? 2 at saka 6. Para mag-equal yan, i-multiply mo lang ng 3. Class, may nagtanong dati sa akin na, sir, saan makinuha yung 3 na yan? Class, yung 3 na yan, para lang mag-equal sila. I-multiply mo yung buong equation ng 3 para yung value ng C natin, pareho silang maging 6. Okay, pareho na silang 6C. Oh, buti pa sa class, sexy. Okay, class. So, tignan mo to. Simplify natin siya. Okay? So, that is t times 3 natin, di ba? Times 3, 15, 6 at saka, that is now 2, 4. Ito na siya. And then, that's 2B, 6C, and 1, 2 pa rin siya. Then, what do we do? Eliminate. Class, pag in-eliminate mo na si B, ano nangyari? 12B na siya. Wala na rin si 6 kasi eliminated na yan. 2, 4 minus 1, 2 is equal to the 1, 2. Algebra, class. 1, 2 divided by 12 is equal to 100 units of B. Ganun lang yon. And then now, compute for the value of C. Substitute. Substitute mo dito sa second equation. Class, di ba second equation? Ito yan, no? 2B plus 6C is equal to 1, 2. Eh, may value na tayo ng B, which is now 100 units. Di, eto na. Gamitin mo na siya dito para makompute natin ang value ng C. Okay, so that's 300. Group similar terms, class. Okay, that's 900. Tapos 6 divided with common denominators. 900 divided by 6 is 150 units. Okay, so yung mga nahirapan sa algebra, nawala na. Okay, yung mga marunong sa algebra, ay puto lang yan. Di ba? Dali-dali. Di ba, class? Algebra is very important. So, what is the answer? The best combination of products that will optimize the resources is 100 units of B and 150 units of C. Okay? So to determine the next question, what is the profit at optimal mix? I-substitute mo lang yung value ng B at saka C doon sa Zmax equation. So ang tamang sagot, pagka-substitute simplify, 42,500 pesos. Okay, so class, lumalabas ba yan sa board exam natin? Yes, lumalabas yan sa board exam natin. So dapat i-master mo rin yung pag-compute natin ng multiple products with multiple limited resources. Okay? So class, as stated earlier, yung discussion natin dito, yun sa product mix natin, including linear programming, it will be reinforced again later on pagdating natin sa quantitative techniques. Sa quantitative techniques, meron tayong mga advanced questions doon na makikita. Most of them are already included in the drill questions. Alright, so class, that is the decision analysis on product combination. Hello mga kariyo, this is our end notes. So class, this is dagdag kaalaman lang to ha. Hindi na to kasama sa board exam natin, but I decided to include this pa rin para ba hindi ka ma-confuse pag nag-discuss na ako sa inyo ng economics in contrast with accounting. Okay? In the concept of marginal revenue and marginal cost. Class, ganito kasi yan. Okay? One of the major differences between economics and accounting is the concept of opportunity cost. Ang opportunity cost na economics is actually the implied and the explicit cost. Ano to? Ang opportunity cost ng economics is our opportunity cost in accounting and sunk cost. Okay, class? Pati sunk cost natin, opportunity cost nila sa economics. In contrast sa accounting class, ano lang ang opportunity cost natin? Only the implicit cost, the implied cost lang. Okay? So class, be careful ha. Meron pa. Kadalasan, pag nag-analyze tayo sa accounting, we analyze yung ating future cost. Di ba, class? Future cost. In economics class, kadalasan analysis nila combination yan. The past and the future cost. Okay? So, and anyway, ano pa? Another major difference is when we analyze marginal revenue and marginal cost. In economics class, we analyze the long run. Pag nag-long run kasi yan, curvilinear. Parabolic na yung curves natin of the revenue, total revenue curve, and the total cost curve already parabolic in nature. In contrast sa accounting class, ano lang yung ating analysis ng marginal revenue and marginal cost. Yung marginal revenue natin is only the incremental cost lang. And marginal cost is only the incremental cost. Linear pa rin siya within the relevant range pa rin. So, sa accounting point of view, mas limited yung ating analysis. Mas marami tayong assumptions. In economics, medyo yung assumptions nila is short run and long run combination. Ayan. Okay, so class, as stated earlier, dagdag kaalaman lang yan. Okay? So at this point, class, we're already done. We're already done with relevant costing. As stated earlier, ang relevant costing, madali lang yung computation niya. Ang mahirap dyan is how to interpret. Paano mag-interpret ng ating mga computed amounts and to derive the proper decision. So, doon sa drill questions natin, marami tayong mga pre-prepare na drill questions para sa inyo para makita ninyo yung mga iba-ibang itsura, iba-ibang situations, and how will you approach the situation and what is the best decision in the given situation. Class, wag kayong makontento sa mga drill questions natin na nasa handouts nyo. Please proceed with answering our online drill questions para masanay ka, mahasa ka talaga sa decision-making analysis. Okay, so thank you, class. Maraming salamat for listening to our discussion for our topic, relevant costing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's proceed with the drill questions for the different types of decisions. So, sa different types of decisions, yung drill questions natin, hati-hatiin natin ito sa multiple parts. So, for each part, we will concentrate on a specific decision analysis. Okay, so class, yung uunahin natin are the questions pertaining to make or buy analysis, starting off with number 33. So 33, a company's approach to make or buy decision, class, basically, what is make or buy analysis? Make or buy basically is an analysis of avoidable cost. If you decide to make, you will avoid the cost of buying. If you decide to buy, you will avoid the cost of making. Answer in number 35 is delta, letter D. Number 36, Giant Company has received an offer from Patriot Company to produce units that Giant Company currently produces and sells. The unit price quoted by Patriot Company is higher than Giant Company's variable production cost per unit, but lower than the price at which Giant Company can market the units. Under which circumstances would Giant Company's profits increase by purchasing the units? Class. So, ganito yan. Make or buy analysis. You can make the component. You can also buy the component. Yung acquisition price mo is lower than your selling price. Example, para ma-visualize mo ito. Example lang, class. Ano? So, ang selling price natin, let's say, is 20 pesos. If you make it, the relevant cost, kahit sabihin na natin full cost niya, ang full cost ng making, sabihin natin, is about 16 pesos. Relevant cost to buy, pag bibilhin mo to, relevant cost to buy, sabihin natin, is about 17 pesos. So, either ways, class, pag in-ignore muna natin, it's better for you to make sana. Now, ang sabi ng problem is, what is the situation, sabi niya, that the company is compelled to buy the component and still sell it to outsiders para magkaroon pa rin sila ng profit. Parang ito yan, class. Di ba? So, that is only possible provided that the company can no longer satisfy the demand. Kumbaga, ang demand natin is 10,000 units. Ilan lang yung ating supply? Supply mo, class, 4,000 units lang eh. So, meron tayong unsatisfied demand of 6,000 units. So, to satisfy the 6,000 units, you'd rather buy. Kasi pag binili mo naman, class, meron ka pa ring profit na 3 pesos. Aside from yung original profit mo sa relevant cost to make mo. Okay, class? Tamang sagot dito, you will only do that provided answer is letter B or boy, the market demand for the product exceed giant company's capacity. Class, ang tawag natin sa situation na yan, that's known as capacity planning. Later on, pagdating natin sa medyo dulo ng problems natin, meron tayong combination na. Ang make or buy kasi class, kung minsan, nagiging analysis of capacity planning. Mas advanced version of make or buy analysis. Pero for now, nilagay ko lang dito para meron ka ng working knowledge. Meron ka ng expectations na makikita mamaya, lalo na sa dulo ng ating mga drill questions. So for now, answer is letter B. Okay, or boy. Next. Use the following information for the next two questions. The case of Richardson Motors. So, basahin muna natin. Richardson Motors uses 10 units of part number T305 each month in the production of large diesel engines. The cost to manufacture 1 unit of T305 is presented below. So, meron tayong materials handling, which is 20% of direct material cost, direct labor. Manufacturing overhead, that is 150% of direct labor. So, materials handling, which is not included in manufacturing overhead, represents the direct variable cost of the receiving department that are applied to direct materials and purchase components on the basis of their cost. Okay, class, pause muna tayo doon. Yung materials handling natin will be incurred. If we make it, it is 20% of the raw material cost. If we buy it, it is 20% of the acquisition price if we purchase the component. So, importante yun, class. Napaka-importante nun. Tuloy natin. Richardson's annual manufacturing overhead budget is 1/3 variable and 2/3 fixed. Pause ulit tayo. 1/3 variable and 2/3 fixed. 1/3. 1/3 of variable over 1/3 of overhead. 24,000. 1/3 of 24,000 is 8,000. The 8,000 is variable cost. It becomes relevant. Okay? And then Simpson Castings, one of the Richardson's reliable vendors, has offered to supply T305 at a unit price of 30,000. Relevant cost to make. Yun nga lang, relevant cost to buy, I mean. Pero class, pag nag-analyze tayo mamaya, yung 30,000 yan, magkakaroon yan ng materials handling cost. Okay? 37, ito na yun. If Richardson Motors purchases the 10 T305 units from Simpson Castings, the capacity Richardson used to manufacture these parts would be idle. Should Richardson decide to purchase the parts from Simpson, the out-of-pocket cost per unit of T305 would be how much? Okay. So, class per unit analysis. Make or buy lang to. So, make or buy analysis. Relevant cost to make is obviously, meron tayong materials, the variable components. Di ba, class? Variable components. I-total na natin to. Gamitan natin ng calculator ninyo. Materials, 2,000. Materials handling, 400. Direct labor, 16,000 plus. May nabanggit ako sa inyo kanina. The variable overhead of 8,000. So, 8,000 plus will give us how much? 26,000. That's 26,400. So, relevant cost to make, 26,400. In fact, this is the variable manufacturing cost. Versus relevant cost to buy. If you're going to buy this, meron tayong acquisition price. Plus acquisition price is 30,000. Tama? Yun nga lang, be careful. Because it's subject to materials handling cost, which is 20% of the original base. So, 20% will give us 6,000. Tama? So, magkano total nito? Total relevant cost to buy is 36,000. Now, the question is, what will happen daw? If the company decides to buy, what will happen to the out-of-pocket cost? Before answering the question muna, in this situation, which is better for the company to do? It is better for the company to continue making because it is cheaper. It is cheaper by how much? It would have been cheaper by 9,600. Mas mura sana, di ba, class? Problema, they decided to buy. They decided to purchase. If they decide to purchase, what will happen to the out-of-pocket cost per unit? There's a 9,600 increase in out-of-pocket cost for every unit purchased. In other words, class, profits will decrease. If your cost will increase, what will happen to profits? Profits will decrease by 9,600 per unit. So answer, class, letter C, increase in cost. Increase in cost resulting to decrease in profits, letter C. So kasi ano nangyari? They decided to buy, di ba? They decided to purchase. Number 38. Assume returns on motors use the idle capacity to manufacture another product that would contribute 104,000 per month. If Richardson chooses to manufacture the 10 units in order to maintain quality control, how much is the opportunity cost? Okay, so class, ganito yan. So, ang nangyari dito, they decided to continue making. Diba? They decided to continue making. What if they decided to buy? O, class, cost-benefit analysis. If they decided to buy sana, if the company decided to buy or if bought, the component was bought, what will happen? Incremental out-of-pocket cost. Yung incremental out-of-pocket cost natin is 9,600 per unit. 10 units ang kailangan. So, incremental in total is 96,000. Versus incremental, class yung incremental out-of-pocket cost, that is cost, di ba? Incremental cost yan. Versus incremental revenue. Or this is the benefit, cost-benefit analysis. If the company decided to buy with this possible alternative. So class, pwede daw niyang iparent na magkano or produce another product, at 104,000 na revenues. O, di ba class? Ano sana mas maganda? There would have been a net benefit of how much? There would have been a net benefit of 8,000. If what class? If the company decided to buy or the component was bought, there should have been additional income of 8,000. Additional profits of 8,000. Problem is, the company decided to continue making. If the company decides to continue making, you are willing to forego the possible increase in income of 8,000. Ano tawag natin dyan? What is net benefit forgone for choosing an alternative? You call it as opportunity cost. So class, ang tamang sagot dito, if the company decide to continue making the component, they will lose 8,000. That becomes opportunity cost. Okay, in contrast, para mas maintindihan mo lalo, if the company decided to purchase the component, the opportunity cost will be 0 because the 8,000 will be earned. Okay, so I hope nakuha natin yung class. Analysis yon. Sa relevant costing, madali lang mag-compute. Ang mahirap dyan is mag-analyze ng kinompute mo at saka mag-interpret ng kinompute mo at saka mag-identify ng tamang decision. Okay, answer for now is letter C. Okay, next, number 39. 39. Regis Company manufactures plugs used in the manufacturing cycle at the cost of 36 pesos per unit. That includes 8 pesos of fixed overhead. O class, take note ha, meron siyang kasamang 8 pesos na fixed overhead. Regis needs 30,000 of these plugs annually, and Orland Company has offered to sell this unit to Regis, okay, at 33 pesos per unit. If Regis decides to purchase the plug, 60,000 of the annual fixed overhead applied will be eliminated. And the company may be able to rent a facility previously used to manufacture the plugs. If the plugs are purchased and facility rented, Regis Company wishes to realize 100,000 in savings annually. To achieve this goal, the minimum annual rent on the facility must be how much? Okay, so class, tingnan natin. Again, make or buy analysis ulit to. Pero, gusto pa nilang mag-earn ng additional 100,000, how much should be the minimum rentals? Okay, so ganito lang yan, class. Ganito lang yan. Variable. So, relevant cost to make muna. Relevant cost to make. Relevant cost to make. You have the variable manufacturing cost. Variable manufacturing cost. Full cost is 36. And 8 pesos. Tama ba? 8 pesos the fixed overhead. So, 36 minus 8 will give us 28 pesos. Okay? 28 pesos. Relevant cost to make. Now, aside from that, meron pa. If Regis decides to purchase the plugs, 60,000 of the annual fixed manufacturing overhead would be eliminated. Class, what is 60,000? That is avoidable fixed cost, relevant din siya. So, meron tayong avoidable fixed cost. 60,000 divided by 30 will give us how much? That is 2 pesos. Okay, ano pa? A supplier, okay, Regis, offered it for how much? 33 33 pesos. So, relevant cost to buy is the acquisition price of 33. Pag tinotal natin to, that is 30 pesos versus 33. What would have been better? It would have, pag tayo sana nag-decide dito class, we would rather buy, we would rather continue making, we would rather continue making because it is cheaper. Problem is, ano sabi ng company? They would rather purchase the component. Bibilhin na lang daw to class, bibili na lang. Pero ipaparenta nila yung facilities. And they want to earn additional 100,000. How much should be the rentals? So class, they have to recover, meron tayong 3 pesos per unit incremental cost. So dapat ma-recover mo yan, di ba? So how much is the incremental cost? That is 3 pesos per unit times. Ilan ba lahat-lahat ang kailangan nito? The company needs 30,000. So how much should be the total incremental cost? Ang total incremental cost natin, class, is 90,000. Ayon. Versus the incremental revenue, which is now the rent, no? And the company wants to have a net benefit. Magkano daw yung net benefit na gusto nila? They want to have a net benefit of 100,000 net benefit. Despite they decided to buy the component, they want to recover. Class, dalawa kailangan natin i-recover dito. If you decide to buy, you need to recover the incremental cost of 90,000. You also need to generate the profit of 100,000 as desired by the company. For you to recover that, how much should be the rentals or the incremental revenue? Rental should not be lower than 190,000. Answer, class, 190,000. Okay? I hope nakuha natin yon. That's logical analysis. Okay? We're using logic and common sense in analyzing. As stated earlier, yung computation napakadali lang. Pero pagdating sa analysis, interpretation, doon pumapasok yung skills natin in decision making. So answer number 30. Answer number 39. Tama ba 39? Yes, is letter B, 190,000. Okay, next. Number 40. Class number 40. What is number 40? For a refrigerator company to determine the most appropriate action to take in this situation, the total relevant cost to make versus buy respectively would be how much? Class, this is a problem of make or buy analysis. Okay, make or buy. So, total relevant cost to make versus total relevant cost to buy lang yan. So, as we read, we analyze. Sige class, tanggalin ko na to ha. Anyway, pwede nyo namang i-pause yung video discussion natin if you want to see the solutions for a longer period of time. Pause nyo lang. Anyway, refrigerator company manufactures ice makers. Insulation in refrigerators. The cost per unit of 20,000 units of ice makers are as follows. Materials, labor, variable overhead, and fixed overhead. Cool Departments has offered to sell 20,000 ice makers to refrigerator company for 28 pesos. Class, 28 pesos per unit. If a refrigerator accepts Cool's compartment offers, the facilities used to manufacture ice makers would be used to produce water filtration units. Revenues from the sale of water filtration units are estimated at 80,000, with variable costs amounting to 60% of sales. In addition, 6 pesos per unit the fixed overhead associated with manufacturing of ice makers could be eliminated. Okay, so what are the relevant costs to make and relevant cost to buy? Okay, so class, relevant cost to make muna. Siyempre, yung make natin, yung materials, class, materials of 7 pesos plus labor of 12 plus 5 pesos na variable overhead plus, ano sabi sa atin? 6 pesos of the fixed overhead will be, of the ice makers could be eliminated. Meron pa tayong 6 pesos na avoidable fixed. So class, pag tinotal natin yon, what is the relevant cost to make per component? Relevant cost to make per component natin is 30 pesos. Times, all in all, ilan ang kailangan natin? Kailangan natin ng 20,000 ice makers. Times 20,000, relevant cost to make, therefore, is how much? That should be 600,000. Okay? 600,000. Versus relevant cost to buy. So, class, sa choices kasi, di ba, letter C tsaka letter D. So, kailangan natin i-compute si buy. Relevant cost to buy. Class, nandito. Relevant cost to buy naman is the acquisition price. Magkano ba acquisition price nito? A supplier is willing to provide it to us at how much? 28 pesos per unit. So acquisition price, 28 times 20,000 for a total of 560,000. Yun nga lang, class. Meron pa tayong alternative sales, di ba? So if we decide to buy, it will generate us, meron tayong water filtration. It has a revenues of 80,000, but it will generate us contribution margin of 40%. If variable cost ratio is 60%, contribution margin is 40%. Additional recovery of our incremental cost. So class, ito na yung contribution margin of, ano ba to? Of water filtration. Ayan, sa filtration. So, sales niya is 80,000 at 40%. Ang contribution margin nito is 32,000. Plus, 32,000 is recovery of the cost. Incremental cost of buying minus incremental revenue of the alternative product. So, how much is the net? Okay? Relevant cost of buying. The net relevant cost of buying is 528,000. Okay, so class, answer is 600,000 and 528,000 respectively. Okay, answer letter D or delta. Next, number 41. Okay, so class 41 tayo. Number 41, listed below are a company's monthly unit cost to manufacture and market a particular product. So, meron tayong manufacturing cost, marketing cost. A company must decide to continue making the product or buying it from an outside supplier. The supplier has offered to make the product at the same level of quality that the company can make. A fixed marketing cost would be unaffected, but variable marketing cost would be reduced by 30%. Take note, class, it will be reduced by 30% if the company were to accept the proposal. What is the maximum amount per unit that the company can pay to the supplier without decreasing operating income? In other words, class, relevant cost to make. So, what is the relevant cost to make? Nahin natin. Class, materials muna. Materials of 2 pesos. So, class, isulat ko to ha. Materials of 2 pesos plus variable indirect, plus direct labor muna of 2 pesos and 40 centavos plus variable indirect of 1 peso and 60 centavos. Fixed indirect, ignore. Tama, class? Marketing. Class yung marketing. Ano sabi sa atin? But variable marketing cost will be reduced by 30%. Class, ang make or buy is an analysis of avoidable cost. So, of the variable component of the variable marketing, how much is avoidable? Ang avoidable is only 30%. Only the 30% becomes relevant. Because the remaining 70% is unaffected. In relevant costing, ano lang kailangan natin analyze? Only the cost that will change. So, situation na to, class, only the 30% plus 30% of 2 pesos and 50 centavos. Okay, 250. Class, pag tinotal mo yan, yan ang total relevant cost of making mo. So, the total relevant cost to make should be 6 pesos and 75 centavos. Answer, letter D or delta. Okay? Next, number 42. Class 42 tayo. So, what is number 42? What is the differential cost to the ABC company of purchasing the components from XYZ company? So, class, ano na naman to? This becomes a problem of make or buy analysis ulit. So, make versus buy na naman. Okay? So, the ABC company manufactures components for use in producing one of its fixed products. When 12,000 units are produced, the full cost per unit is 35 pesos, separated as follows. Okay, so, last nandyan si materials, labor, at saka ating overhead, no? And then, the XYZ company has offered to sell 12,000 components to ABC for 37 each. If ABC accepts the offer, some of the facilities currently being used to manufacture the components can be rented as warehouse space for 40,000. O, class, ano yung 40,000 na yan? Relevant din yan, di ba? Relevant din yan. However, sabi niya, 3 pesos na fixed overhead currently applied to each component would be covered by ABC's other products. So class, what is 3 pesos? Yung 3 pesos na yun is the unavoidable. Class, yung 3 pesos cannot be eliminated. Since it cannot be eliminated, what happens? It becomes, hindi siya magiging relevant. So in contrast, yung remaining na magkano ba to? 'Di ba? Meron siyang fixed na 5. The 3 pesos will remain unaffected. Ibig sabihin nun, only the 2 pesos will become relevant. Yung 2 pesos lang ang magiging relevant nun. Okay. Ayan. And then, what is the differential cost to ABC company of purchasing components from XYZ company? O class, make or buy lang to. Okay, make or buy lang. So, what are the relevant costs to make? Ayan, relevant cost to make. Meron tayong materials of 5 pesos. O class, isulat ko ha. So, 5 pesos plus labor of 15 pesos plus variable overhead of 10 pesos plus ito yung avoidable fix natin. The avoidable fix is only 2 pesos lang. So, pag tinotal natin yan, that should be how much? That should be 32. Tama, class? 32. That's 32 pesos. From the 32 pesos, ilan ba yung kailangan niya? The company will require 12,000 units. Class, pag sa board exam, calculator lang yan. Okay, so 32,000. 32 times 12,000, should give us how much? This is how much? This is 384. O, class, 384,000. Ayan, class, meron tayo nakalimutan. Wait lang saglit. Dapat hindi pa ito na double rule. So, yung 384,000 na yan is only for the relevant cost to make lang. Muna, di ba? Pero, meron pa tayong kailangan isama dito. Kasi sabi ng problem, if the components can be rented as a warehouse space for 40, meron pa tayong opportunity cost. Okay, class, opportunity cost, yung rental na 40,000. Ito na dapat yung total natin. Class, ang ginamit ko dito, gross method ang tawag natin dito. It is known as gross method because relevant cost to make the component, yung talagang kitang-kita mong make naman, di ba class? Mga avoidable cost of making plus the revenue of an alternative. So ito, gross method ito. So pag tinotal natin yan, that should be what? 424,000. Okay? Anyway, I'll show you mamaya yung net method. Papakita ko mamaya. And then, what is the relevant cost to buy? The relevant cost to buy, ABC, our supplier, offered it at 37 pesos. So, 37 pesos times 12,000 units. So, pag 12,000 to, class, magkano lahat to? That should be 444,000. Okay? 444,000 versus 424, what should the company do? Which is better for you? It is better for the company to continue making because it is cheaper by 20,000. Okay? Cheaper siya by 20,000. Answer in number 42 is letter A. Okay, class? This is known as the gross method. Gross method dahil itong 40 was added as relevant cost to make. Now, pwede rin naman natin gawin na net method. Pag net method, yan yung 384. O, class, pakita natin dito. Relevant cost to make is the 384. Ito yan, class, ha? Yan. And relevant cost to buy, gamitan natin ng logic. 444,000. Ito yon, di ba? Pero, pag binenta mo, if you decide to buy, you will earn naman rentals of 40. May earnings ka naman. So, pambawi ng increase in cost, di ba? Pambawi ng increase in cost. So, magkano yan? 404,000. So, class, if you get the difference between the two, it will still give us how much? That should still be 20,000. Tawag lang natin dyan, net method lang ang tawag natin dyan. Okay, now, if the problem is silent, as ang tinatanong sa'yo is only the difference, walang problema. Kasi pareho lang ilalabas na sagot. Kahit gross method or net method ang gagamitin mo. Ang problema, class, is what if they will ask you what is the relevant cost to make? What is the relevant cost to buy? If that is the case, prioritize the gross method. If the question is relevant cost to make, the answer is 424. Relevant cost to buy, 444. That is your priority answer. What if tinignan mo sa choices? Hinanap mo tong dalawan to and nawawala sa choices. You will now go proceed with the second assumption. Mag-second na assumption ka na, which is now the net method. So, pag tingin mo sa choices, wala yung gross. Hanapin mo yon si net method. Pag nakita mo yung net method, 384 at saka 404, malamang sa malamang. Net method ang gusto itanong sa atin sa problem. So class, pati mismo doon sa pagsasagot ng exam natin, nagdi-decide ka pa rin. Di-decide ka. Take note, decision making is not black and white. Ang decision making kasi, class, may combination yan, di ba? Meron tayong qualitative, meron tayong quantitative, which is what we're doing now, pero meron pa rin siyang qualitative analysis. Kaya doon pa lang, nagdi-decide ka pa rin kahit sa choices na. Okay, answer. Class, 42. Answer is letter A. That's the net advantage. Okay, next. Number 43. Class, ang number 43, this is the last sa mga make or buy problems natin. So, sa 43, puputulin natin itong recorded bids natin. Okay, class, ganito lang yan. Cohasset Company currently manufactures all component parts used in the manufacture of various hand tools. A handle is used in 3 different tools. The unit cost budget for 20,000 handles is as follows. Meron tayong materials, labor overhead, fixed overhead. Okay? Then R&M Steel has offered to supply 20,000 handles to Cohasset for 125 each. Delivered. If Cohasset currently has idle capacity that cannot be used, accepting the offer will be what? O class, simple lang to. Make or buy lang, di ba? Pwede pa nga nating i-calculator computation na to eh. Kasi wala naman ng ibang relevant cost. So what is the relevant cost to make? Relevant cost to make materials of 60 centavos, sabayan nyo class, 0.6, plus labor of 0.4, plus variable overhead of 0.1. So ilan ang total relevant cost to make? Total relevant cost to make is 1 peso and 10 centavos. 1 peso and 10 centavos. And what is the relevant cost to buy? Given na. Relevant cost to buy is 1 peso and 25 centavos. How much is the difference between the two? 15 centavos. Diba? 15 cents. But please be careful, class. If Cohasset currently has idle capacity that cannot be used, accepting the offer. Ano ibig sabihin na accepting the offer? They will now decide to buy it from an outside supplier. So if you will make, it is only 1 peso and 10 centavos. If you will buy, it is 1 peso and 25 centavos. If you will buy, you will spend additional 15 centavos for each additional unit. Answer then is letter. Answer is letter D. Increase the handle unit cost by 15 centavos. Answer, delta. Okay, so class, those are the MCQ or drill questions for the make or buy analysis. Hello mga ka-Rio, these are now the drill questions for relevant costing. So unahin natin yung discussion ng basic concepts muna on relevant cost and then what are the different types of cost under relevant costing to include opportunity cost. Starting off with number 1. Okay, number 1. Relevant cost refer to what class? Ano yung mga basic characteristics ng relevant cost? Diba dalawa yan? It is a future cost that changes between two alternatives. So ang tamang sagot sa number 1 is delta or letter D. Anticipated future cost that will differ among various alternatives, dun mismo, na dun yung pinaka-keywords natin. Okay? Number 2, the relevance of a particular cost to a decision is determined by the what class, di ba? Ang relevance natin. Bottom line, ang tinitingnan natin dyan is, does it change between two alternatives? So, ang tamang sagot sa number 2, potential effect on the decision. Diba? So, ano yung tinitingnan natin na effect niya? Effect on either yung revenue will increase or yung cost will decrease or any changes man doon. And what is the bottom line effect on the net income? So, tamang sagot, letter D, potential effect on the decision. Kaya class, diba? If there are no changes that will happen on a given alternative, ibig sabihin nun, it is not relevant. Diba? Yun. So, answer delta. Number 3, relevant or differential cost analysis. Class, ano ibig sabihin ng differential cost analysis? So, di ba dalawang method yan? We have the total approach and the incremental approach. Sa incremental approach, we only include in our analysis only the cost and revenues that changes between two alternatives. So, the correct answer number 3 should be letter A. Class answer letter A considers all variable and fixed costs that as they change with each decision alternative. Now, you might be wondering, sir, bakit mo ulit sinama yung fixed cost? Di ba, class, dun sa discussion natin, are fixed costs also relevant? Yes. Only the portion that will change, only the portion that will increase or decrease will become relevant. So, class, relevant pa rin ha. May relevant portion ang fixed cost. Although not in total, yung portion niya na magkakaroon ng change. Answer, letter A. Number 4, in order to avoid pitfalls in relevant cost analysis, management should only focus on what type of cost. Kasi ang tamang sagot dito, as much as possible, management should only focus on cost that changes between two alternatives. Kaya between the total approach and the incremental approach, mas gusto natin gamitan ng incremental or the marginal approach. So answer number 4 is boy. Anticipated revenues and costs that differ for each alternative. Letter B. Next, number 5. The term incremental cost refers to what? Class, kung minsan yung term na incremental cost, ang tawag natin sa kanya is the net advantage. So, if it's net advantage, simply stated, that is now the difference between the two alternatives. Answer is letter B or boy. The difference in total cost that results from selecting one choice instead of the other. In other words, class, yun yung net advantage. Example, make or buy. Relevant cost to make is 10. Relevant cost to buy is, let's say, 12 pesos. Magkano difference niya? 2 pesos. Ang tawag natin sa 2 pesos na yun, incremental cost. Okay? Net advantage. Layman's terms. Number 6. The term that best refers to past cost o class, doon pa lang, past cost pa lang, dapat alam mo na yung sagot, di ba? So, kahit hindi mo nabasahin yung problem, pag past cost na yan, that have been incurred and not relevant, o yun pa, in-emphasize pa siya, not relevant to any future. So, automatic, that is already a sunk cost. Parang yung X mo lang, di ba, class? Yung X mo, ano na siya, hindi na siya relevant sa'yo. Kasi nga, X mo na siya. Sunk na siya, di ba, class? Answer is boy. Letter B. Number 7, which one of the following costs would be relevant in short-term decision-making? O class, which of the following choices will change between two alternatives? The correct answer is boy, incremental fixed cost. Yan yung sinasabi natin kanina. Nagiging relevant din ba ang fixed cost? Yes, only the portion that will change or the net increase or net decrease in fixed cost. Letter B. Number 8, when making a decision to increase the robotic automation equipment in an existing facility, a firm takes all of the following into consideration except what? In other words, class, which of the following daw is relevant cost? And which of the following is not relevant? Alin na hindi relevant dito? The correct answer is letter D, delta. The initial cost of the current facility. Bakit, class? What is letter D? Yung initial cost ng current facility natin. Kasi sunk cost na yon, di ba? Historical na siya. Since historical na siya, it's no longer relevant. Answer is delta. Number 9, in a make versus buy decision, the relevant costs include variable manufacturing costs as well as, class, ang tamang sagot dito ay avoidable fixed costs. At this point, dapat master mo na yan, di ba? Master mo na. So, pag nasagutan mo ang number 9, malamang sa malamang, pati number 10, kaya mo na ring sagutan yan. So, number 10, cost relevant to a make or buy decision include variable labor and variable materials, as well as, class, paulit-ulit na to, di ba? Paulit-ulit na yan. Tawag sagot dito is avoidable fixed cost ulit. Okay, answer letter B. Mga concepts kasi ito, class, ng mga concepts na to ng sunk cost. Ina-emphasize natin sa inyo using different situations. Alright? Number 11. A printing company is considering replacing an old printing press. The old printing press has a book value of 24,000 and a trade-in value of 14,000. A new printing press would cost 85,000 after trade-in of the old press. It is estimated that the new printing press would reduce operating costs by 20,000 per year. Haba ng kwento. Ayan. If the company decides not to purchase the new press, the 85,000 could instead be used to retire debt that is currently costing 9,000 per year in interest. Tapos, napakasimple lang yung tanong, class. Tignan yung tanong niya. Which of the given amounts is an example of a sunk cost? Class, obviously, of the given choices, which is a historical cost that we no longer change, whether we replace or not the old machine or the old printing press. Tamang sagot dito, classes boy, di ba? The book value of the old printing press is already a sunk cost. All others are what? All others are that will change between two alternatives, meaning all others are relevant, except letter B. Yon, answer boy. Number 12, in a joint manufacturing process, John costs incurred prior to a decision as whether to process the products after the split off point should be viewed as what class? Ano treatment natin sa joint cost, also known as the cost before the split off point. Tawag natin doon, it is one of our examples of a sunk cost. Bakit kaya ulit sunk cost, class? Kasi nga naman, whether you process it further or sell it as is, pareho lang naman, di ba? Hindi na siya magbabago. As is na siya. Answer, sunk cost. Letter D. Ayan. So, I hope matapos natin ma-discuss itong mga questions natin tungkol sa mga basics ng mga cost classifications and the relevant costing, including the examples, I hope master na natin to. Next class, somewhat caselet, dalawang question. Use the following information for the next two questions. Tignan natin si number 13. The cost described in situation 2, 3, and 5. 2. Class, joint production. Nagsisimula pa lang, di ba class? Alam mo na yan sagot. Joint cost is an example of a sunk cost. So, tignan lang natin to validate lang what is number 3. Research and development costs incurred in prior months. Underline and circle incurred in prior months. Historical cost, sunk cost na yan. Sigurado ang sagot dyan, sunk cost na. Actually, sa joint pa lang, di ba? Alam mo na kaagad eh. Tapos tignan natin number 5, the cost of obsolete inventory. Historical cost. That is already a sunk cost. So, the answer number 13 class is letter D. It is a sunk cost. Number 14, the cost described in situation 1 and 4. O, tingnan natin. Number 1, alternative use of plant space to be considered in make or buy decision. O, class, meron siyang alternative use. So, if there is an alternative use, it becomes what? Tawag natin dyan, relevant yan. It is relevant in decision making. Relevant cost siya. Validate natin with number 4. Let's see number 4. The cost of a special device that is necessary if a special order is accepted. Bibilhin mo daw yung device na yon, 'di ba? So if you will accept the special order, you will incur the cost of the special device. It changes between two alternatives. It is a relevant cost. So answer class, automatic yan, ano? Number 14 is letter C. It is a relevant cost. Ayun. Number 15. Maganda tong number 15. So may mga problems din tayo. So, application type questions. So, basahin muna natin. Okay, yung ano nga ba yung gustong i-require sa atin? Philips cost structure for the coming year will include what? Sige nga. Tingnan natin. Philips and Company produces educational software. Its current unit cost based upon anticipated volume of 150,000 units is as follows. So, meron tayong selling price, variable, contribution margin, fixed cost, and operating income. Okay, so class, take note that is per unit. Okay, naka per unit yan. Sales for the coming year are estimated at 175,000 units, which is within the relevant range. Philips cost structure. Okay, o range of Philips cost structure. Cost management initiatives are expected to yield a 20% reduction in variable cost and a reduction of 750 in fixed cost. Ayan. So, in fixed cost, Philips cost structure for the coming year will include what? Okay, so class, ang gagawin natin dito, ang tawag natin dito is kuminsan, they're known as the change in profit factors. So change in profit factors, titignan lang natin which are the elements or the factors will change and what will happen to, what is the effect on the net income. Pero dito kasi class, ang tinatanong lang niya sa cost structure lang. So pag cost structure ang question, ang titignan lang natin dyan is yung variable component at saka yung fixed component niya. Then hanapin natin yung tamang sagot. Okay, so class, incorporate natin yung changes. So first and foremost, meron tayong sales. Ano ba sales natin? The selling price is 150 times for the current year, it is anticipated that they will have sales of 175,000. So times 175,000 should give us, okay class, that should be 26.25 million. Okay, 26.25 million. Less the variable cost. Okay class, yung variable cost natin. Ano sabi niya sa variable cost? Ang sabi niya sa variable cost, it is expected that there is a 20% reduction in the variable cost. So, magkano nga ba original na variable cost natin? It is 60 pesos. O, sige class, 60 pesos. 60 pesos times 80% net of the 20% reduction times 175,000 units. So our total variable cost should be 8.4 million. Okay, 8.4 million. Class, tignan nyo yung mga choices ha. May nakalagay dito, contribution margin ratio, total contribution margin, variable cost ratio. Okay, counter check na natin kaagad ito. So, let's compute natin si variable cost ratio. Class, 8.4 million. 8.4 million divided by 26.25 million should give us 32%. So, there's a 32% variable cost ratio. Class, doon pa lang, pag nakita mo yan, syempre, look at the choices. It is now either A or C, di ba? Kasi class automatic. If variable cost ratio is 32%, CMR is 68%. Tuloy pa natin yung ating computations. So, we now have our contribution margin. The contribution margin is 17.85 million, which is 60. That is 68% CMR. Okay, so tuloy lang natin. Less fixed cost. Less the fixed cost. Originally, magkano yung fixed cost niya? Class, originally, ang fixed cost per unit is 60. It is based on 150,000 units. 150,000 units times 60 will give us 9 million class. Okay, so originally, ganito kasi yan. Ano? So originally, lagay natin para masundan ninyo, that is 60 pesos times 150,000. Bakit 150,000? Because we're computing for the original fixed cost. Class, take note, fixed cost in total is constant. Di ba? Constant. So, total fixed cost yan before the changes took place. Now, for the current year, it is anticipated that the fixed cost will decrease by 750,000. Okay, so decrease by 750 will give us how much? That should be 8.25 million. Okay, so from the 8.25 million, we will now compute for the net income. So after the changes took place, how much is the anticipated net income? Anticipated net income becomes 9.6 million. Okay, 9.6 million. So what is the correct answer then? The correct answer, pagtingin natin sa mga choices natin, ayun no, so operating income, sabi niya, letter A is false because of the net income. Letter B is false because of the contribution margin. Letter C, class, variable cost ratio of 32%, and then operating income of 9.6 million. Answer is letter C. So what is wrong with letter D? Per unit contribution margin of 72 and fixed cost of 55. So tignan lang natin, class, contribution margin is 17,850,000 divided by 175,000. So, ang contribution margin niya is in fact 102. Okay, CMU is 102. Kaya mali siya. Okay? So, that is number 15. So, number 15 class is more on change in profit factors. Okay, let's continue. So, ang kagandahan kasi sa mga problems na ganito, kitang-kita mo, di ba? The factors that will change, changes in revenues, changes in variable cost, that is our concern dito sa starting point ng relevant costing. Alright, so let's continue. Number 16. So, number 16, Elders Company produces valves for the planning industry. Elders per unit variable price and variable costs are as follows. Meron tayong sales price of 12, variable cost of 8. Elders practical plant capacity is 40,000 units. Elders total fixed cost aggregate 48,000 and has a 40% effective tax rate. The maximum net profit that Elders could earn would be how much? Okay, so class, apply your skills in variable and absorption costing. Under variable and absorption costing, ano lang ginagawa natin dito? Selling price, di ba class? So, calculator computations lang to, sabayan nyo ako. So, magkano selling price natin? The selling price is given to us at 12 pesos minus the variable cost also given to us at 8 pesos. Will give us contribution margin per unit of 4 pesos. From the 4 pesos contribution margin per unit, i-multiply lang natin to ng practical capacity of 40,000. So, times 40,000 class, magkano na yun? That's 160. Ang tawag natin sa 160,000 na yan, you call it as total contribution margin. minus our fixed cost. Ang fixed cost niya binigay din sa atin at 48,000. So, ang nakalagay sa calculator natin ngayon is 112. Okay, class 112. If you look at the choices, that is already letter D. Di ba? Letter D na. But class, be careful. This is a unique problem. Kadalasan, taxes are ignored in relevant costing most of the time, except this problem. Bakit? Kasi tignan nyo class, ano sabi niya? The maximum net profit. In other words, ang gustong itanong sa atin dito is the maximum net benefit. Pag maximum net benefit yan, it should be ready net of all possible expenses, including taxes. Ganyan katindi yung problem na yan. Kaya yung nakalagay doon na the maximum net profit, malaking bagay yon class. Malaking bagay. Kasi pag net profit lang yan, 112 na yung sagot natin. But the question kasi is maximum net profit. In other words, that is already the maximum net benefit, net of all possible expenses. The company is subject to tax of how many percent? The company is subject to tax of 40%. So, times 0.6 muna natin yan. Times 0.6 will give us how much? Answer should be 67,200. Okay? 67,200. The answer is letter. Answer is letter C. Okay, next. Number 17. Ayan, class 17. So, ano ba meron sa 17? Target variable cost, constructive. Number 17. Adams Corporation's goal is for operating income to equal 6% of sales. Adams estimate that the highest selling price the market will bear is 115 per unit. Last, alam niyo sa pricing decisions, ang tawag natin dito, Adams Company will become a price taker. Price taker siya dahil yung highest selling price is dictated by the market. Okay, so Adams expects to sell 100,000 units, incur fixed cost of 3.5 million, and has an effective income tax rate of 40%. To achieve these plans, the target variable cost per unit must be how much? Class, anong gagamitin natin dito? Principles ng cost, volume, profit, and break-even point. We will reverse the process. Okay? So, to reverse the process, sige, lagay muna natin dito. Magkano yung kanyang target selling price? Ang target selling price class, ganito lang yan. So, SPU, principal selling price per unit is 115 minus fixed cost per unit. So, class, magkano nga ba? Magkano yung total fixed cost niya? 3.5 million. Arising from sales of 100,000. So, that's 3.5 million divided by 100,000. The fixed cost per unit should be 35 minus 35 minus profit per unit. So, class, magkano ang profit per unit nito? There is a desired profit of 6% of sales. Yung 6% of sales pertains to the selling price. Class, be careful ha. The goal is for operating income to equal 6%. Ano ibig sabihin ng operating income? Operating income is already before tax na yon. Naka-before tax na yan. Therefore, 115 times 0.06 will give us how much? That is 6.9. Okay, minus 6.9. So, ano gamit ngayon? Yung 40% na tax rate na nakalagay doon. Wala siyang gamit because the basis of 6% is already operating income, meaning naka-before tax na yan. Okay, so class, pag ni-reverse mo yung process, selling price per unit, di ba? Class, selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit minus fixed cost is equal to profit. So if we reverse the process, selling price per unit minus fixed cost per unit minus profit per unit is equal to what? That is equal to the variable cost per unit. So, pag sinimplify natin yan, how much should be the variable cost per unit? The variable cost per unit should be 73 pesos and 10 centavos. Okay, that's 73 pesos and 10 centavos. Answer is letter A. Okay, answer, letter A. Ayun, that's number 17. Okay, next. Number 18. Og fine furnishings. Ano nga ba muna ang requirements sa number 18? So, if the sales of the headboards increase by 50% and all of this remains constant, this would result in what? Okay. So, class, anyway, tingnan muna natin. Okay, yung situation ni Oak Fine. Number 18. Oak Fine Furnishings manufactures a wide range of home furnishings. One of their products is an oak headboard The company sells 4,000 headboards at an average price of 100 per unit. Okay. So, class, take note, ha? Ano daw mangyayari sa ating sales? Mag-increase by 50%. So, inote mo na kaagad dyan. So, currently, ang kanyang sales is 4,000 units, I mean. So, habang nag-reading. And the 4,000 headboards at an average price of 100 per unit. To manufacture the headboards, the variable costs are 55. Class, take note, meron na tayong 55 na variable cost. And the total fixed costs assigned to the oak headboard are 150. If the sale of the headboards increased by 50% and all else remain constant, this would result in what? Class, ano lang mapapalitan? Okay, so gagamitan natin to ng marginal analysis. So pag marginal analysis, we will only consider the factors that will change. So class, take note, if there's a change in number of units sold, our total sales and total variable cost will change. Tama? So pareho lang yung magiging effect niya. Pag-effect niya sa sales units natin. So, affected ang total sales, affected din yung ating total variable cost. So, pwede ba natin tong shortcutin? Pwede, class. So, kunin na natin agad-agad. So, magkano nga ba yung kanyang selling price? Class, ang selling price niya is given to us at 100. So, selling price is 100 minus, kunin natin yung CMU. Class, CMU to. So, if this is for speed and accuracy, ha? That is 100 minus the variable cost of 55. That is already total contribution margin per unit. Multiply mo lang to ng sales units. Okay, so magkano yung ating sales units? Yung 4,000, sabi niya, will increase by 50%. So, 4,000 times 150% will give us 6,000. Okay, times 6,000 units. So, class, pag sinimplify natin to, that's total contribution margin. So, total contribution margin should be equal to how much? That should be 270,000. Okay, 270. Then, all you have to do is to deduct your fixed cost, less the fixed cost. Magkano ba fixed cost natin? Given to us at 150,000. So, class, pagka-deduct mo, ano na yan? That's already your net income. How much is net income? 120,000. So, what is 120,000? Answer is letter C. Okay, so class, pag sa calculator lang yan, napakadali nito. Pag sa calculator, let me teach you calculator computations. So, class, yan lang yung gagawin din natin, ano? So, pagkabasa mo pa lang ng problem, alam mo naman na, di ba? So, yung 6,000 lang naman yung crucial dyan. So, 100 minus 55 is 45. And then, class, yung 6,000, mental computation lang yan. Kasi nga, 4,000, 50% of 4,000 is 2. So, 4 plus 2 will become 6, di ba? So, 45 times 6,000 is equal to 270 minus 150, given naman na yan, will already give us 120,000. So, class, sa board exam, kaya mong sagutin yan in less than 1 minute. Okay? So, tamang sagot, letter C. Ayun, next number. Let's proceed with number 19. Ayan, number 19. What is the question in number 19? Net benefit yung tinatanong niya. Sige. So, a manufacturing company's primary goals include product quality and customer satisfaction. Ano nga ba yung problem ng company muna? The company's designers have estimated that the defective rate can be reduced to 2% using a different direct material. However, this will increase direct material cost by 250 per unit to 20 pesos per unit. The net benefit of using the material to manufacture the product would be how much? Class, ang gagamitin natin dito, incremental ulit tayo. Okay? So anyway, tuloy lang natin. Basahin natin saglit. The company sells a product for which the market demand is strong for 50 pesos per unit. So what is 50 pesos? That is the current selling price. Due to the capacity constraint, the production department can only in the production department, only 300,000 units can be produced per year. Ayan, class, meron siyang limitation. Tapos, problema, meron pa siyang the current defective rate is 12%. Malaki pa yung defect rate niya. That is, of the 300,000 units produced, only 264 units sold and 36 units are scrap. 36,000 na scrap. Malaki nga, di ba, class? Ayan. There is no revenue recovery when defective units are scrapped. The full manufacturing cost of a unit is 29.50, including the following. So, meron tayong materials, labor, and overhead. Okay, so ito na yun. Class, the company's designers have estimated the defective rate can be reduced to 2% by using a different direct materials. O, yun na, and so on and so forth na. So, class, ano una natin gagawin dito? This becomes a problem of cost-benefit analysis. Okay, cost-benefit analysis. So, first and foremost, let's consider yung savings. Okay, so dito natin ilagay. So, savings on the defective product. Di ba, class? It will cut down. Savings on defective products or defective goods. Ayan. So, magkano nga ba savings natin dito? So, first and foremost, originally, 36,000 ang defective goods niya. Diba? 36,000. Minus, magkano na lang ngayon? So, ang sabi sa atin, the defect rate will now be reduced to 2%. So, originally, class, 300,000 times 2%. Okay, so if you get the difference, pag minultiply natin yan, that is 6,000. Ibig sabihin nun, we will be able to save 30,000 will become part of the remaining good units. And the 30,000 class can be sold at a selling price. Ibebenta natin siya at a selling price per unit that is given to us at 50 pesos. So magkano total revenues mo? Ito na yung incremental revenue, or that is already the savings or incremental revenue of 1.5 million. Okay? Of 1.5 million. Yun nga lang, class. For this to happen, you have to increase, di ba? Tataas yung raw material cost natin. So, how much is the raw material cost? Ano sabi dito? However, this will increase direct material cost by, class take note ha, by na yan, by 250. What is 250? That is already the net increase in cost. So, less incremental cost on raw materials. Class, all in all, so magkano yun? That's 250, ano? That's 250. Yun nga lang yan, 250 na yan, is applicable to all units produced. Lahat-lahat yan. So, at 300,000. Will give us how much? That is 750,000. That is our incremental cost. So, class, savings or incremental revenue versus incremental cost will give us net benefit. This becomes the net benefit. Get the difference between the two. There's a net benefit of 750,000. Okay? So, class, answer is letter C. Okay, letter C. Ayan. So, class, ang ganda ng mga problems. So, dito sa mga sinold natin at this point, puro analysis lang, incremental revenue, incremental cost, di ba? So, ina-analyze lang natin siya based on the given situation. Anyway, tuloy na natin to. Number 20. The opportunity cost of making a component part in a factory with no excess capacity is what? Class, if there is no excess capacity, what is opportunity cost? By definition, opportunity cost is the income or benefit forgone for choosing the best alternative. So, pag tinignan natin yung choices, nasan siya dun? Answer is delta, the net benefit given up from the best alternative use of the capacity. Answer, delta. Number 21, when a decision is made in an organization, it is selected from a group of alternative course of action. The loss associated with choosing the alternative that does not maximize the benefit of class, yun na naman yun, di ba? Ano yan? Definition ng opportunity cost. Letter A. Number 22, when an organization decides on a course of action that is selected from a group of alternative course of action, the benefit lost. O, class, doon pa lang, alam mo na dapat sagot doon, ano? Expert ka na dito. What is the benefit lost? That is, again, the opportunity cost. Answer, letter A. Number 23, Johnson waits 2 hours in line to buy a ticket to an NCAA Final Four tournament. The opportunity cost of buying the 200 ticket is, so class, asan dito ang opportunity cost? The income or benefit forgone. The answer is letter C, or Charlie. Johnson's best alternative use of both the 200 and the 2 hours spent in the line. So class, ang kinonsider natin dyan, opportunity cost, that is quantitative, measured in terms of money. It's the 200 peso cost of the ticket. And qualitatively, yung oras na ginugol niya. Answer, letter C. Number 24. Jensen Company has relevant cost of 80 pesos per unit to manufacture Part A. A current supplier offers to make Part A for 70 pesos per unit. If capacity is constrained, class, alam natin, ano? Capacity is constrained daw. The opportunity cost buying Part A from the supplier is equal to how much? Class, alam natin na the opportunity cost is 10 pesos. That's 10 pesos per unit. Kasi 80 pesos to manufacture, 70 pesos per unit to buy. So in this situation, it's better for us to buy kasi cheaper siya ng 10 pesos. Di ba? So if you decide to continue making, you will lose the 10 pesos which will become opportunity cost. Problema, class, wala siyang binigay na units needed. Di ba? In the absence of the units needed, we cannot identify the total opportunity cost. Kaya ano tuloy ang sagot sa number 24? Answer is delta. Cannot be determined using the above information in the absence of the total units needed. Pero definite ang sagot dyan, 10 pesos per unit. Alam natin yon. Nawawala si units needed, we cannot get the total amount. Kaya answer was letter D or delta. Number 25. Jensen Company has relevant cost of 80. O class, halos pareho to. Per unit to manufacture Part A, a current supplier offers to make Part A for 70 per unit. The only difference, class, there is sufficient capacity. If there's sufficient capacity, what happens to opportunity cost? Opportunity cost, mawawala na yan. Di ba, class, zero na siya because there is sufficient idle capacity. Ganito lang yan, di ba, class? If there is no idle capacity, pag walang idle capacity, opportunity cost will start to increase. Tumataas na yan because you have to sacrifice regular sales. In contrast, if there is sufficient idle capacity, we don't have to sacrifice anything. You will earn anything that you want to earn. There would be no opportunity cost. So, ang kagandahan ng 24 and 25, kitang-kita mo kaagad yung contrast. Yung contrast ng with idle and there is no without idle capacity. 25, letter A. Number 26, incremental fixed costs are what? Class, alam mo na to. Incremental fixed costs are relevant, di ba? They're relevant in decision making. Letter B. 27, what is marginal revenue? Class, marginal revenue is the net increase in revenues brought about by an alternative. Correct answer number 27 is letter D. Okay, that is the change in total revenue associated with producing and selling one more unit. Class, alam mo yung definition ng marginal revenue na yan? Economics. That is the economics point of view. Okay? Number 28, total unit costs are what? Ito na. Okay, class, ang total unit cost natin, this has something to do with the approaches in decision making. The total approach and the incremental approach. Tamang sagot sa 28, letter A, are irrelevant in marginal analysis because in marginal analysis class, we only consider the cost that changes lang. Okay, yung mga changes lang, magbago lang. So, ang total cost kasi class includes costs that will not change. So, ang tamang sagot, letter A, irrelevant in marginal analysis. All others would be true. Number 29. When management must decide to accept or reject a one-time only special order given sufficient idle capacity, which on the following is not relevant to the decision? Class, not relevant. What is not relevant is letter B, absorption cost. Bakit, class? Kasi absorption costing includes fixed overhead. It includes fixed cost. Diba? So, pag special order, ano lang yung ating relevant cost sa special order? The variable cost per unit plus any additional cost incurred lang. Ano to? Absorption costing kasi includes fixed cost that we no longer change. Kaya hindi na siya relevant. Answer is boy. Number 30, which costs are relevant to the decision to further process a product beyond its current state? So class, ano to? Ano yung relevant cost sa sell as is or passes further? It is the cost incurred beyond the split-off point, also known as the further processing cost. Answer, delta, incremental cost. Number 31, in differential cost analysis, which one of the following best fits the description of a sunk cost? Class, sunk cost is a cost that was already incurred in the past and will no longer change between two alternatives. Answer is letter D or delta. The cost of a large crane used to move materials. Class, what is the cost of large crane? That is already cost incurred in the past. All others, class, will become what? What is letter A? Purchasing department cost incurred in acquiring. Variable cost yan di ba? Freighting is a variable cost. Relevant yun. Direct materials, letter B is also relevant cost. Letter C, forklift driver to move materials to the manufacturing floor. The cost of the forklift driver. Class, pasweldo yan, di ba? So, pasweldo, it changes then between two alternatives. Answer, delta. Sunk cost. Number 35, there is a market for both product X and product Y. Which of the following costs and revenues would be most relevant in deciding whether to sell product X or pass it further to make product Y? Class, ano yung ating relevant cost in a sell as is or passes further situation? Ang relevant cost natin doon is the incremental, dalawa yan. Incremental revenue for further processing and the incremental cost of further processing. Di ba? Yun ang tinitignan natin, tapos binabangga natin yung dalawang yan. Kung mas mataas ang incremental revenue, process further. Pag mas mataas ang incremental cost, sell it as is. So the correct answer is letter C. Letter C, additional cost of making Y given the cost of making X and additional revenue from Y. C, incremental revenue and incremental cost. Okay, next, number 33. An organization's sales revenue is expected to be 72,600. That is a 10% increase over last year. For the same period, for the same period, total fixed costs of 22,000 are expected to be the same as last year. The number of units sold is expected to increase by 1,100. The marginal revenue per unit would be how much? Class, ang marginal revenue is simply the selling price per unit. Class, selling price per unit lang tinatanong sa atin. Okay? So, marginal revenue. So, what will we do? So, work back natin to. Okay, work back natin siya. So, magkano nga ba yung total? Magkano nga ba yung total na revenues natin? 72,600, di ba? So, 72,600. Okay, revenue 72,600, a 10% increase over the last year. So, divided by 110%. Plus, pagka-divide natin ng 110%, nakuha na natin dito is already what? Ito na yung that's before the increase in sales units. Ayan. So, before the increase in sales units, what happens? Tapos, multiply natin ulit ito times, kasi incremental ang tinatanong, di ba? Times 10% para makuha natin yung net increase. Okay, yung net increase niya. So, from their class, 72,600. Ayan. So, in-isolate lang natin, 72,600 divided by 1.1 times 0.1. There's already a net increase of how much? Net increase in revenues of 6,600. But the 6,600 is brought about by additional units. Yan yung additional units sold niya, class. Additional units sold is already given to us. It is expected to increase by, so yung incremental revenue in pesos divided by the incremental sales units of 1,100 will already give us what? The selling price per unit of how much? That should be 6 pesos. Answer is 6 pesos, or that is letter B. Okay, letter B. And number 34. Ito naman, class 34. This is on, ano ba to? Principles of high-low points method. Harper Products cost information for the normal range of output in a month is shown below. We have output in units. We also have the total cost. So what is Harper's short-run marginal cost? Class, ang short-run marginal cost simply pertains to the variable cost per unit. By applying the principles of economics kasi, class, ang short-run cost nila is in fact the variable cost per unit. So, i-compute natin ang variable cost per unit. How? Using your high-low points method. Yung high-low points method natin, may mga problems tayo nito under CBP analysis. Full discussion of high-low points method is under quantitative techniques in decision making. Anyway, class, ito lang yan. Nasaan yung highest? The highest is 25,000 units based on an output of 25,000 units at a total cost of 3,650,000. So, applying the principles of high-low points method, the variable cost per unit will be computed as the difference between the highest and lowest in terms of cost sa quantity, di ba? Ayan. So, yung ating quantity 25, that is 3 million. Yung cost niya, that's 3 million, or that's 3.65 million. 3.65 million minus the lowest cost is 20,000 units. So, minus 3 million. Yun yung total cost niya divided by highest quantity of 25,000 minus lowest quantity of 20,000. By the way, class, some few reminders tayo. How do you identify highest and lowest? To identify highest and lowest, it is always based on the quantity. Because quantity is the independent variable. Dependent variable kasi ito. Anyway, full discussion. Nakalagay yung full discussion natin sa quantitative techniques. So when you simplify this, matapos mo i-simplify yan, how much should be our variable cost per unit? The variable cost per unit should be 100. That's 130. Class, yan din ang tinatawag nila na incremental. No? Sa short run marginal cost. The short run marginal cost of economics. So class, tandaan natin, ano? So yung mga discussion natin, sinamahan na rin natin ng accounting assumptions, which is the bulk of our discussion, and meron din tayong economic assumptions. Okay, so class, those are only what? Those are the mga questions lang muna yan, ano? Mga different, mga relevant cost, including the cost elements related to decision making. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The next drill questions are on the accept, reject a special order. Okay, number 44. So 44. The loss of a key customer has temporarily caused Bedford Machining to have some excess manufacturing capacity. Bedford is considering the acceptance of a special order, one that involves Bedford's most popular product. Consider the following types of cost. So, classic na natin yung question. Which of the following combinations of cost types should be considered in the special order acceptance decision? In other words, which of the following costs are relevant? So, tingnan natin. Number 1, variable cost of the product. Yes. Diba? Relevant yan. Fixed cost of the product. No. Does not change. Diba? Does not change whether accept or reject the special order. 3, direct fixed costs associated with the order. Yes. Tawag natin dyan incremental fixed costs associated to the special order. So, relevant yon. Opportunity cost of temporary idle capacity is also yes. Correct answer number 44 is letter. That's letter A. Okay, letter A. Number 45. Power systems. So, what is the question in number 45 muna? When asked to bid on the next contract for this engine, the minimum unit price that power system should bid is how much? O, class, yun na naman, ano? Special order. So, minimum price. Kasi pag minimum price, yun na yung variable cost per unit. So, Power Systems manufactures jet engines for the armed forces on a cost-plus basis. The cost of particular jet engine the company manufactures is shown below. Materials, labor, supervisor salary, fringe benefits on direct labor, depreciation, rent. If production of this engine was discontinued, the production capacity would be idle and supervisor would be laid off. O, class, what is the minimum price? Related ito sa analysis ng relevant cost, related din to sa special order. So, what is the minimum price? The cost incurred, di ba? So, class, ano lang yan? Materials of 200,000. O, sabihan nyo, materials of 200,000 plus labor of 150,000 plus is the supervisor salary avoidable in this situation? Answer is yes, because the supervisor would be laid off, meaning tatanggalin siya. Kaya relevant yun. Plus 20,000 plus fringe benefits on direct labor is an example of that's variable overhead. So plus 15,000. And what is depreciation and rent? Class, depreciation sunk cost. Tapos rent naman is committed or discretionary cost. So magkano lang? 385,000 lang. Answer, letter B or boy. Okay, next, number 47. In negotiating a price for the special order, Raymond should set the minimum price per unit selling at how much? O, class, minimum price. What is the minimum price? Variable cost per unit plus opportunity cost, if any. Opportunity cost is affected by idle capacity. Tama? So, tignan natin. Raymond Incorporated currently sells its only product to mall stores. Raymond has received one-time special order for 2,000 units from another buyer. Sale of the special order items will not require any additional selling effort. Class, no additional selling effort daw. So, Raymond has a manufacturing capacity to produce 7,000 units. Raymond has an effective income tax rate of 40%. Raymond's income statement before consideration of the one-time order is as follows. So, class, ano sabi? There is sufficient idle There's idle capacity, ano? Bakit sufficient? Kasi 7,000 lang yung current production and sales. Ilan ang kanyang capacity? Sales is 5,000, I mean. Sales is 5,000, capacity is 7,000. The special order, 2,000, eksakto lang yan, pasok na pasok. So what is the minimum price? The variable cost per unit. Wala siyang opportunity cost. So the variable cost is, for manufacturing, is 50,000. The variable selling is 15. Class, tandaan mo. The selling, sabi niya, there will be no, it is, the items, special order items will not require any additional selling effort. Isa lang ibig sabihin nun, there is no variable selling cost incurred. Ano lang ma-incur natin? Manufacturing lang. So pag manufacturing lang yan, that is 50,000 divided by 5,000 units, para makuha lang natin yung variable cost per unit. The variable cost per unit of the company is currently 10 pesos. The answer is also 10 pesos. Answer, letter B. Class, unique itong problem ng number 47. At medyo, hindi naman that unique, pero meron siyang twist. Normally kasi, ang relevant cost natin, including variable selling, di ba? Kasama variable selling. The problem expressly states that there will be no variable selling. So, ano yung magiging relevant cost natin? Only the cost incurred. So, what is your cost incurred? Only the variable manufacturing cost. Now, when are we going to assume that there is no variable selling? Only if the problem expressly or impliedly states that there is no variable selling. If the problem is silent, ang assumption natin, there is variable selling. So class, ingat tayo doon kasi maraming nagkakamali sa situation na yun. Answer number 47, letter B, or boy. Number 47, using the original data for this one-time special order is in excess of what? Class ng 47, how much is the minimum price na naman of the special order? Tingnan natin. Cater is a manufacturer of industrial components. One of their products that is used as subcomponent auto manufacturing is KB96. This product has the following financial structure per unit: selling price, materials, labor, okay, so and so on and so forth. Total cost of 90 pesos. Cater has received a special one-time order for 1,000 KB96 parts. Assume Cater is operating at full capacity. Class, operating at full capacity, ibig sabihin nun, it will result to a possible opportunity cost. And that the contribution margin of the output that would be displaced by the special order is 10,000. Yun na nga yun. Nagkaroon na siya ng opportunity cost na 10,000. The minimum price that is acceptable would be how much? Class, minimum price is variable cost per unit plus opportunity cost. Tama? So, magkano ating variable cost? The variable cost is materials of 20 pesos, plus labor of 15, plus variable manufacturing of 12, plus, ito na yung sinasabi natin, class. If the problem is silent, assume there is marketing, such as shipping and handling of 3 pesos. So at this point, that is already 50 pesos. But, since there is no idle capacity, nagkaroon siya ng opportunity cost na 10,000. 10,000 divided by how many units are needed? 1,000 units. So how much is the opportunity cost per unit? 10 pesos. So 50 plus 10, kinalculator pa natin yon. How much is the minimum price? Minimum price will be 60 pesos. Class, the answer is letter C. Okay, i-balance ko to ha. Balance natin. Letter C, 60, because nagkaroon siya ng opportunity cost kasi wala na siyang idle capacity. There's no idle capacity. But in case the problem states that there is idle capacity, what will be the minimum price? The minimum price will go back to the variable cost per unit of 50 pesos. Okay, so class, ganun yun ha. Ingat tayo sa problem number 47. Answer is letter C. Okay, letter C. Next. Number 48. Okay, 48. Johnson Company manufactures a variety of shoes and has received a one-time only special order directly from a wholesaler. Johnson has sufficient idle capacity, o class, sufficient idle capacity to accept the special order to manufacture 15,000 pairs of sneakers at the price of 750 per pair. O class, analyze tayo. Special order quantity, 15,000. Special order price, selling price, 750. Johnson's normal selling price is 11.50 per pair of sneakers. Variable manufacturing costs are 5 pesos. Class, importante yung 5 pesos na yan. Relevant yon, di ba? That's relevant manufacturing per pair. And the fixed manufacturing costs are 3 pesos a pair. Ignore. Johnson's variable selling expense to obtain an order for a normal line of sneaker is 1 peso per pair. Class, what is yung 1 peso na yon? Impliedly telling you that the 1 peso is only for regular sales. Simply means, for special order, we will not incur the additional 1 peso. Okay? Tandaan mo yun 1 peso impliedly will not be incurred by the special order. Ganda naman problems natin, ano, class? What would be the effect on Johnson's operating income if the special order were accepted? Yan, excuse me. Class, ganito lang yan. Simple lang yan. Contribution margin lang. The selling price of the special order is 7.5 minus variable cost of 5 pesos. Contribution margin per unit of the special order is 250. 250 times 15,000 unit special order quantity will give us 37,500. Answer is letter B or boy. Class, ulitin ko ha. Wala siyang selling in admin. Wala siyang variable selling, because the variable selling is only for regular sales or normal sales lang yan. Okay? Answer letter B. Next, number 49. What is 49? Under these circumstances, the minimum unit price at which the manufacturer would accept the special order is one exceeding how much? Class, ano pa rin to? Special order, unit price pa rin to. So ano lang tinitingnan natin dito? Variable manufacturing plus opportunity cost if any. Kailan nagiging challenging? Mga opportunity cost or yung mga avoidable na selling and admin. Mga ganun, di ba, class? Ayan, tingnan natin si 49. A manufacturer has been approached by a new customer who wants to place a one-time order for components similar to one that the manufacturer makes for another customer. Existing sales will not be affected by acceptance of this order, class. Tandaan mo yon, underline and circle. It will not be affected by accepting the special order. Regular sales remain the same. Manufacturer has a policy setting its target selling price at 60% over full manufacturing cost. That is only true, class, that's only true for long-run pricing lang. Pang regular sales lang yon. The manufacturing cost and target selling price for existing products are presented as follows. Materials, labor, variable overhead, applied 75% direct labor, okay, and so on and so forth, including the 60% markup on full cost. Okay, target selling price na 20 to 40, class, pang external price yan, pang regular sales mo yun. Now, the manufacturer has excess capacity to produce the quantity of the components desired by the new customer. So, they have excess capacity. Ibig sabihin, wala tayong opportunity cost. The direct materials used as a component for the new customer would cost the manufacturer 25 centavos less than those used in the component currently being made. O, class, sa special order, yung raw materials 25 centavos cheaper. Okay, 25 centavos cheaper would be the same. Okay, and ano pa? The variable selling expense would be the same, or that is 90 centavos per unit. O, class, ano na yan? Is the 90 centavos per unit relevant? Yes, because it will be incurred by the special order. Sinabi pa mismo ng problem. Under these circumstances, what is the minimum price? Class, ganito yan. Okay, calculator, sabayan nyo ako kasi madali lang to. Una, yung ating materials. Dati 2.3, di ba? Pero of the 2.3 minus 25 centavos because it is 25 centavos less, sabi niya. So, yung materials natin is 2 pesos and 5 centavos plus labor of 3.6 plus manufacturing overhead variable of 2.7 plus class yung ating selling, di ba? Magkano yung selling natin? Selling is given to us at 90 centavos 0.9 will give us how much? Answer is 9.25. Answer is letter C. Okay, answer? Letter C. Ayun. So, that's number 49. O, class number 50 tayo. 50. Green. Ano ba yung requirement ni green? So, Ken and Dale. Wait, sorry. Doon muna tayo sa last question. Feeling Green's bid was too high, Ken and Dale countered with the price of 280. Which one of the following options should be recommended to Green's management? O, sige, ano nangyari kay Green, ano? So, number 50. Green Corporation builds custom design machinery. A review of selected data and the company's pricing policies revealed the following. So a 10% commission is paid on all sales orders. On all sales orders. Kasama pati yung special order. Malamang sa malamang, pati special order may commission yan. Variable and fixed factor overhead total 40% and 20% respectively of the direct labor o class of the direct labor yun application rate niya. Corporate administrative cost amount to 10% of direct labor. When bidding on jobs, Green adds 25% markup to the total of all factory and administrative costs to cover income taxes and producer profit. Pang regular sales lang yon, di ba? Hindi siya pwede sa special order. The firm's income tax rate is 40%. The company expects to operate a maximum of 80% of practical capacity. So ngayon, Green recently received an invitation to bid on the manufacture of some custom machinery for Cannondale Incorporated. For this project, Green's production accountants estimate the materials and labor costs will be 66 and 120 respectively. Accordingly, Green submitted the bid to Cannondale in the amount of 375. Ito na, feeling Green's bid was too high. Cannondale countered with a price of 280. Which of the following options would you recommend? Class, analyzin muna natin. What are the relevant costs related to the special order? Okay? So, sige, tingnan natin to. So, special order. Meron daw siyang materials. Expressly given. The material cost is given to us at 66,000. The labor is likewise given to us at 120,000. Class, do not forget, meron kang variable overhead. The variable overhead is 40%. Sabi mismo ng problem, 40% of the labor cost. Diba? So, 40% of labor. 120 times 40% is 48,000. So, please do not forget, may 48,000 tayo doon. And then from there, class, kunin natin yung total. So, the total is 200. That should be 234,000. Okay, that's 234,000. Okay. And then from their class, do not forget yung commission niya. So, ano ba dapat? So, ang gusto kasi nating malaman is, ano dapat yung ating possible na minimum price? Si Cannondale class, nag-counter offer siya ng price of 280. So, the 280,000 will also become relevant. Okay? Relevant yung commission niya. So, that is now 280,000 times 10% will become relevant in this situation. Kasi kino-compare natin. What are the minimum? Di ba, class? Yung 280 kasi yan, pag binenta mo at 280, subject na kagad dyan ng commission of 28,000. So, at a minimum, how much should be? Magkano dapat ang minimum price nito? Minimum price, 234 plus 28,000 is 262,000. Class, 262 lang. 260,000 lang yung cost incurred mo on the special order plus possible commission on the offered price of 280. Ibig sabihin nun, 262 lang yung kailangan mong i-recover. So ngayon, ang i-offer sa'yo, 280, bibili niya sa'yo ng 280. Will you accept the 280? Answer, class, is yes. Acceptable yan kasi may profit ka pa eh. In fact, may profit pa tayo. Additional profit pa yan. So, magkano additional profit natin? So, that's 280 minus 262. Meron pa tayong profit of 18,000. So, are we going to accept at a price of 280? Yes. Acceptable yan. So, tamang sagot, number 50 is letter A. Accept the counter offer because the order will increase operating income. It will increase by how much? Specifically, it will increase by 18,000. Okay? Yan sa class, letter B. Next, number 51. So, malapit na to, no? So, 51, malapit na sa mga problems ng special order. So, National Technology Corporation manufactures integrated computer components. Its unit cost structure based on volume of 300,000 units is as follows. Ayan. A foreign company recently approached National with an order of 50,000 units of a specially designed component at 35 pesos per unit. The order will require specialized procurement cost of 150,000. Ayan na, class. Incremental cost, di ba? Incremental cost of the special order. So, will require specialized procurement cost of 150,000. And only one half of the variable cost associated with administrative area will be needed. Class, kalahati lang yung relevant, di ba? Kalahati lang ang incurred. Otherwise, cost behavior will remain the same. Adequate capacity is available to handle this request, meaning there is sufficient idle capacity. Ibig sabihin nun, hindi natin problemahin ang opportunity cost. What is relevant unit cost to be considered by national in making a decision on this offer? Class, ano to? The variable cost per unit plus incremental cost if any. Walang opportunity cost kasi. Compute muna natin, class. Variable cost. Materials of 350. Sabayan nyo, calculators, 350. Plus labor of 9. Plus packaging of 2. Plus manufacturing overhead of 3. Plus marketing of 250. Ayan, magkano na yun? That's ready 20. Plus, 1/2 of administrative cost of 2 pesos. At this point, that is already how much? 22 na. Di ba, class? Tawag natin dyan, variable manufacturing cost of 22 pesos. Do not forget incremental fixed cost. Meron tayong incremental fixed cost per unit, which is the 150,000 equipment. 150,000 divided by the company is what? Special orders 50,000, di ba? Divided by 50 will give us how much? That's 3 pesos. So magkano minimum price natin? So ito na yung total. The minimum price should be 25 pesos. Answer, class, 25 pesos. Letter B. Okay, letter B. That's number 51. Ayan, next. Number 52, class. Ang 52, a little bit challenging. Okay, tingnan natin to. Maganda tong problem na to. Gardner Company currently is using its full capacity, class, of 25,000 units. 25,000 machine hours to manufacture product XR2000. So, ano nangyari? Full capacity na siya, no? So, of producing XR2000. LJB Corporation placed an order with Gardner to manufacture for the manufacture of 1,000 units of KT 6,500. LJB would normally manufacture this component. However, due to the fire at its plant, LJB needs to purchase these units to continue manufacturing other products. This is a one-time special order. The following reflects unit cost data and selling prices. Ayan. What is the minimum price Gardner should charge LJB to manufacture 1,000 units of KT 6,500? Class, the minimum price is the variable cost per unit plus opportunity cost. So, anong nangyari? You will sacrifice what units? You will sacrifice XR2000. So, yung contribution margin ng XR2000 will become the opportunity cost. Pero, meron tayong, kunin muna natin yung variable cost ni KT 6,500. Okay? So, let's go over. Materials, 27. Plus labor of 12, plus variable overhead of 6, plus variable selling admin of 5 pesos. At this point, class, may 50 pesos na tayo. Diba? So, the minimum price is the variable cost per unit plus opportunity cost per unit. So, this is already 50 pesos. Kulang na lang natin opportunity cost per unit. For you to accept the special order of KT 6,500, you will have to sacrifice XR2000. And how many units of XR2000 are we going to sacrifice? Ilan ba yung kailangan nating i-produce? Class, ilan yung order niya? Di ba 1,000 units? So, tingnan natin to ha. Opportunity cost. You will have to purchase 1,000 units. And each unit of KT 6,500 will consume 3 hours times 3. So, all in all, ang total hours na na-consume natin dito is 3,000. 3,000 hours. 3,000 hours will have to be sacrificed. We will sacrifice how many units of XR? Ang XR class will take us how many hours to produce? 4 hours. Divided by 4. Ibig sabihin nun, we're going to sacrifice 750 units of the XR product. This will become our basis of opportunity cost. Okay? So class, para maituloy natin to, kunin natin yung contribution margin niya. And then allocate natin or prorate natin sa number of units to be sold na KT 65,000. Okay, so class, ganito lang yan. Magkano muna? Kunin natin yung kanyang contribution margin per unit or yung kanyang contribution margin per unit. Yes. Okay. So class, ganito yan. XR. Selling price per unit is 105. Let me show you how. That is 105,000. Sorry, 105 pesos I mean. Ayan, ayusin natin to para mas malinis. So that is 105 minus the variable cost of XR. Materials of 24, labor of 10, variable load of 5, variable selling of 4. So that should be how much? 43. Diba? 43. So from here, class, i-multiply mo siya ng units. How many units are we going to sacrifice? 750 units. This becomes our total opportunity cost. Total opportunity cost of sacrificing 750 units of XR. Ano ba yon? XR 2,000. Di ba? It is prorated. I-proporate natin yan sa special order quantity. So, ilan na special order quantity of KT? 1,000 units divided by 1,000 units. O yun, class. Pag na-simplify natin yan, lalabas na yung tamang sagot. Okay, lalabas na siya. So, the opportunity cost would be, pag sinimplify natin yan, that is 4650. So, simplify mo na lang yan, class. Simplify mo na yan. How much then is our minimum price? The minimum price should be 96 pesos and 50 centavos. Go back to basics. Basta special order class minimum price, variable cost per unit, plus opportunity cost per unit, if any. Okay, if any. Parang sa problem na to. Medyo naging challenging kasi yung basis natin ng opportunity cost galing pa sa ibang product. Pero ganun pa rin yung basic concept na in-apply natin. Okay, so class, those are the questions pertaining to, let me just check ha. Yan, tama. Those are the questions pertaining to the special order. So, mamaya itutuloy natin yung mga iba-ibang situations. Ang next na i-discuss natin dito is on the, ano ba yung kasunod dito? Sell as is or passes further. Okay, so class, those are the special order drill questions. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the discussion of sell as is or passes further na drill questions. So, starting off with number 53. So, Copeland Incorporated produces X547 in a joint manufacturing process. The company is studying whether to sell X547 at the split-off point or upgrade the production to become silane. The following information has been gathered. So, tingnan natin yung question muna, di ba? So, which of these items should be reviewed when making the upgrade decision? In other words, ano tinatanong sa atin? Which of the following costs are relevant? So, tingnan natin. Number 1, selling price per pound of X547. Yes. Why? Kasi nga kailangan natin incremental selling price. Variable manufacturing cost of the upgrade process. Yes. Ang tawag natin dyan, further processing cost. Avoidable fixed cost of the upgrade process. Yes. Avoidable cost is relevant. In A, sell as is or passes further. Selling price per pound of silane, yes. Kailangan natin yan to get the incremental selling price per unit of further processing. Joint manufacturing cost to produce X547, no. Class, what is joint cost? That is an example of a sunk cost. So the correct answer for number 53 is letter D. 1, 2, 3, and 4 lang. Okay, answer, delta. Next, number 54. A company has 7,000 obsolete toys carried in inventory at a manufacturing cost of 6 pesos per unit. If the toys are reworked for 2 pesos per unit, they could be sold for 3 pesos per unit. In other words, class, there's additional profit of 1 peso if reworked. Tama? So, piso pag ni-rework siya. If the toys are scrapped, they could be sold for 1.85 per unit without doing anything. So, which alternative is more desirable? And what is the total peso amount of the advantage of that alternative? Class, simple lang, di ba? Pag ni-rework mo siya, there's a net benefit of 1 peso. That's 3 minus 2. Piso lang. In contrast, if it is already sold as is, as a scrap, 1.85. So there's a net advantage of selling it as a scrap at 85 centavos per unit. So class multiply lang yan. Mental at ano ito, calculator computations lang yan. Okay, so 0.85 times 7,000 will give us how much? That should be 5,915 net advantage of selling it as scrap. Okay, answer is letter D or delta. Next, okay, slet tayo. Okay, caselet. Use the following information for the next two questions. Whitehall Corporation produces chemicals used in the cleaning industry. During the previous month, Whitehall incurred 300,000 of joint costs in producing 60,000 units of AM12 and 40,000 units of BM36. Whitehall uses the units of production method to allocate joint costs. In other words, class, your joint cost is allocated based on physical measures method. Okay? So by the way, class, may lumabas na ganito sa board exam. Caselet din siya. And it was what? It was originally given in AFAR and then biglang lumabas din sa management accounting. Allocation din siya ng joint cost. From allocation of joint cost, further processing cost, unit cost, may lumabas na ganito dati. So anyway, tuloy natin. Whitehall uses units of production method to allocate the joint cost. Currently, AM12 is sold at split of 40-50 per unit. So, hindi siya pina-process further. Binibenta na 350. Flank Corporation has approached Whitehall to purchase all of the production of AM12 after further processing. Ano yung request ni Flank? Class, dapat maintindihan mo to. Ang request ni Flank, gusto niya bilhin after further processing na. Di ba? So, the further processing cost will cost Whitehall 90,000. Number 55. Concerning AM12, which one of the following alternatives is most advantageous? Class, ganito kasi yan. Si Whitehall, yung AM12, talagang hindi na niya pinaprocess further. It is already sold as is. Pag binenta niya as is, it is already sold 40 pesos and 50 centavos. So, malamang yung selling price na 350 na yon, na-recover na niya yung kanyang cost. Meron na rin siyang profit. Di ba? Ngayon, lumapit ngayon itong isang customer natin, si Flank. Sabi niya, bilhin ko na lang yan after further processing. Willing daw siya. Question doon kasi, what is our minimum price? So, syempre, dapat, para bang as if, hindi affected yung original sales natin, which is being sold at 3 pesos. Dapat hindi yan mawala sa atin. Tama? Kasi nga, yan na yung talagang selling price natin. And we also need to recover the further processing cost if it is processed further. And magkano siya? Class, ang total ng further processing cost natin is 90,000 plus 90,000. And the number of units needed by Flank is how many units? Ang kailangan niya daw ay 60,000 units. O class, simplify mo yan. That is 90 divided by 60 is 1.5. Di ba? 1.5 plus 3. Okay, will give us how much? Okay, so ang ating 350. Sorry class, 350 to. So, kulang ng 50 centavos. Nakalimutan ko yata. Okay. So, 350. 350 pala yan. Ayan. So, malamang sa malamang. Sir, 350 yun. Oh, may nakapansin sa inyo. No? Sigurado ko. Okay. So, saan nagaling yung 3 na nilagay ni Sir? 350. Okay. So, makulit lang, ano, class? So, tamang sagot dito is 5 pesos. Okay. Answer, 5 pesos. 5 pesos for number 50. For number 55, ano kaya ang tamang sagot dito? So, at a minimum, dapat ibenta natin at 5. Tingnan natin to class ha. Letter A. Whitehall should process further and sell to Flank if the total selling price per unit after further processing is greater than 5.25, which maintains the same gross profit percentage. That's a plausible answer. Letter B. Whitehall should process further and sell to Flank if the total selling price per unit after further processing is greater than 5 pesos. Okay? And then letter C. Whitehall should process further if the selling price is greater than 3, hindi rin, ano, class? Hindi. Okay, hindi yon. Ganun din si letter D. Class, what is in letter D? 450 lang eh. So, pwede nating pagpilian dito is letter A at saka letter B. But what is the correct answer? The correct answer is letter B. 5 pesos dapat yung magiging selling price natin. Alam niyo kung bakit? Para sabihin mo, sir, hindi ba dapat 525? Kasi meron pa siyang profit margin, additional na 25 centavos na kikitain niya. But the problem, class, is si Flank, willing lang siyang bilhin yan at 5 pesos. Consider now qualitative factors. Pag tinaasan pa kasi natin yung selling price natin kay flank, baka ayaw na niyang bumili sa atin. Kanino na bibili yan? Bibili na yan sa competitor natin. So, simply stated class, huwag tayong masyadong maramot, di ba? Huwag kang masyadong puro kita na lang yung iniisip. Isipin mo rin yung gustong mangyari customer mo. So class, itong problem na to, combination na to ng quantitative and qualitative analysis. So under qualitative analysis, the reason kung bakit minimum price natin ito is para makuha natin yung customer na yan. Beyond this selling price, there's already a very big chance na si customer hindi nabibili sa atin. Qualitative side of special order analysis. Okay, so I hope nakuha natin yung logic nun. So, ang tamang sagot sa 55, letter B. Okay, boy. Now, look at this. Number 56. Assume that Whitehall Corporation agreed to sell AM12 to Flank Corporation for 550. O, binenta daw niya ng 550 per unit after further processing. During the first month of production, Whitehall sold 50,000 units with the 10 peso units remaining in inventory at the end of the month. With respect to AM12, which of the following statements is correct? O class, compute natin operating profit as well as ending inventory. So, sa problem natin kanina, we need to get how much is our unit cost. Diba class? Magkano ba talaga yung unit cost nito? Okay, so let's go over yung original na production cost niya. So, the production cost, the joint cost is 300,000. So, from the 300,000, joint cost of 300,000, how much will be the allocated cost for AM12? So class, it is allocated, sabi niya, based on units, di ba? Output units. So for AM12, that is 60,000. For BM30, 36, that is 40. So ratio mo lang yon. 60 plus 40,000, that is 100. In other words, 60%. Tama? 60% times 60%. Sigurado ako may magtatanong pa rin sa inyo nito. Saan nanggaling yung 60% na yan? Sigurado ako. Class, ulitin ko. 60,000 units produced plus 40,000 units produced. Pag tinotal mo yon, 100. 60 divided by 100 is 60% for AM12. Okay? So, yan. Inunahan ko na kayo. Baka may magtanong ulit pa ng 60% na yan. Then, from the 60% class, yan allocated joint cost niya. The allocated joint cost is 180,000. Okay? 180,000. Do not forget to add the further processing cost. Further processing cost, FPC. The further processing cost is 90,000. Class cost accounting na to ha. This is already cost accounting. Okay? Ito na yung total manufacturing cost niya. Total manufacturing cost is 270,000. We need to get kasi yung unit cost mo. Diba? Para mag-compute natin ang CJS at saka ending inventories. So, divide this with number of units produced. Units produced or the remaining goods units. Ang units produced natin is ilan ba? Diba 60,000? So, divided by 60,000 units will give us magkano unit cost nito. That is 270 divided by 60 will give us unit cost of 4 pesos and 50 centavos. Okay, 4 pesos and 50 centavos. From the 4 pesos and 50 centavos, we can now compute for net income. Aside from net income, we can also compute for ending inventories. So, paano yun, class? Okay, so ganito yan. Magkano ba selling price na binenta natin kay Flank? It was sold for 550. Di ba? Last 550. So, ganito lang yan. Okay, so selling price per unit was 550 less unit cost as computed na 450. Gross profit per unit is 1 peso. Multiply this with our sales units. So, ilan ba yung sales units natin kay Flank? So, Whitehall sold 10,000, Whitehall, okay, sorry, yung sold 50,000 units. So, times 50, di ba? Ayan, times sales units of 50,000. So, ito na yung ating gross profit of 50,000. From the 50,000 gross profit, meron ba siyang expenses? Wala naman siyang binigay, di ba, class? Wala naman. So, ito na yung magiging benefit natin. That is already our that is already our net profit for the month. Class net profit na yan of 50,000. Okay, so class, tingnan mo yung choices mo, A and C. Di ba? Naglalaro si A at saka si C. Isa pa, inventory. How will we compute for ending inventories? Class, may unit cost ka na 450. Ang napunta sa ending inventories ay 10,000 units. So, balance end times 4 pesos and 50 centavos. How much then is our ending inventories? That should be 45,000. Okay, answer. Class, ang tamang sagot for number 56, net income or profit is 50,000 and then ending inventories is 45,000. Okay, that's number 56. Number 57. Last, ito mga madadali na problems, ano? Sell as is or process further. Okay? So, 57 is a typical. It's a typical problem of sell as is or process further. Management wants to know whether to sell each product at the split-off point or to process the products further, which on the following options should be recommended to Ross Management. Ano nga ba nangyari kay Ross? Ross Incorporated uses a joint process which yields product X and Y. Each product can be sold as split-off point or processed further. All the additional processing costs are variable and can be traced to each product. Joint production costs are 35. Class, what is 35,000? Ignore in decision making kasi sunk cost na yung joint cost natin. Other sales and cost data are as follows. Your sales value at split off point, final sales value, you process further additional cost beyond the split off point. Class, madali lang to. Alarin lang natin to sa calculator. Product X muna. Class, pag product X, magkano selling price niya? Final sales value is 80,000 minus sales value at split off point na 60,000, meaning incremental revenue is 20,000. For you to gain 20,000, now, if for you to earn additional 20,000, you have to spend further processing cost of 14,000. So, class, 20,000 incremental revenue minus further processing cost of 14,000, there's a net benefit or net increase in profit of 6,000. If you sell at if product X is processed further. In contrast, how about product Y? O, class, tignan natin sa product Y, magkano yung kanyang final sales value? 50,000 minus sales value at split off point of 35,000, magkano incremental revenue? Incremental revenue is 15,000. Yun nga lang, class. For you to earn 15,000, you have to spend how much? You have to spend 18,000. Lugi ka, di ba? Lugi tayo ng 3,000. So, class, alin lang sa dalawa ang pwede nating i-process further? So, between product X and product Y, only product X should be processed further and product Y should be sold as is. Tamang sagot is letter D or delta, process product X further and sell product Y at split off. Answer, delta. Class, madadali lang to. Next, number 58. Jones Enterprises manufacture 3 products, A, B, and C. During the month of May, Jones' production, cost, and sales data were as follows. Your product A, B, C, and the totals. Based on the above information, which one of the following alternatives should be recommended to Jones Management? Okay, so which of the products, B and C, will have to be processed further? O, tingnan ulit natin, class, ganun na naman yung gagawin natin. So, let's proceed first with product B muna. So, at split off point, that is only 550. After further processing, the selling price is now 8 pesos. Class, 8 pesos minus 550. Incremental revenue per unit is 250. 250 multiply this with number of units produced for product B of 20,000. How much is our incremental revenue? The incremental revenue of product B is 50,000. Diba? 50,000. But for you to earn 50,000, you have to spend how much? You have to spend further processing cost of 60,000. Class, lugi tayo dyan, di ba? Lugi ka ng 10,000. So, what should happen to product B? Product B should be sold at split-off point. Now, let us check product C. Yung product C natin, that is 1250 minus 10.25. Incremental selling price per unit is 225. 225 times units produced of 70,000. Magkano incremental revenue ng product C? Incremental revenue of product C is 157,500. Of the 157,500, you have to spend how much? 140,000. So 157,400 minus 140,000, it will result to incremental revenue or profit of 17,500. Magkakaroon tayo dyan ng profit of 17,500 if it is processed further. So class, anong gagawin natin kay product C? Product C will be processed further, whereas product B will be sold at split-off point. Look at yung choices natin. The correct answer should be letter. That should be letter B or boy. Okay? And next, class number 59. This is the last for the problems related to sell as is or process further. So, si Fitzpatrick. So, ano nga ba yung problem ni Fitzpatrick? If Zinten is produced, income would increase by how much? O, sa case of Zinten. So, 59. Fitzpatrick Corporation uses a joint manufacturing process in the production of two products, Gumo and Silo. Each batch in the joint manufacturing process yields 5,000 pounds of an intermediate material, Valdine, at a cost of 20,000. Each batch of Gumo uses 60% of the Valdine and incurs 10,000 of separate cost. The resulting 3,000 pounds of Gumo sells for 10 pesos per pound. The remaining Valdine is used in the production of Silo, which incurs 12,000 of separable cost per batch. Each batch of Silo yields 2,000 pounds and sells for 12 pesos per pound. Fitzpatrick uses the net realizable value method to allocate the joint material cost. The company is debating whether or not to process Silo further into a new product, Zinten. O class, nagkasanga-sanga na talaga, no? Dumami na to. So, Silo, if processed further, will have what? Will become Zinten, which will incur an additional 4,000 in cost and will sell for 15 pesos per pound. If Zinten is produced, income will increase by how much? Class, maliit lang yung solution nito. Okay, so, dito na lang. Okay, class, dito na lang ha. Kasi maiksi lang yung solution niya. Kasi, ano lang, Zinten lang naman eh. If Zinten is processed further, what will happen? Okay, ito si Zinten. So, incremental selling price for the incremental revenue. If it is sold as is, it will be sold for how much? It will be sold for 12 pesos. Pag prinasas further natin, Zinten will be sold for 15. O, sige, sulat natin. 15 minus the original price. Pag Silo pa lang siya, 12 pesos. So, there's an incremental revenue of 3 pesos per unit. Multiply this with, ilan yung output natin dito? We're able to produce 2,000, di ba? So, how much is our incremental revenue? Incremental revenue should be 6,000. Less further processing cost. So, magkano further processing cost nito? 4,000 lang. Di ba, Nas? So, 4,000 lang yan. So, meron tayong net benefit. There's a net benefit if processed further to Zinten of 2,000. Okay? So, class, ano decision natin doon? We would rather process further Silo to become Zinten because our profit will increase by 2,000. Tamang sagot is letter D or delta. Okay, so class, those are the questions related to sell as is or process further. Mga hariyo, dito tayo sa questions ng continue, discontinue a segment or a product line. So, number 60. The following are operating results of the two segments of Parkland Corporation. So, class, at an initial glance, pag tinignan natin ang segment B, parang net loss na, no? Yun, no? Operating loss of 500, sabi niya. Kaya tuloy, what happened? Variable costs of goods sold are directly related to the operating segments. Fixed costs of goods sold are allocated to each segment based on number of employees. Fixed selling and expenses are allocated equally. If segment B is eliminated, kasi nga net loss na siya, di ba class? 1,500 of the fixed cost of goods sold would be eliminated. In other words, class, what is 1,500? That is the avoidable fixed. Assuming segment B is closed, the effect on income would be what? Class, ano lang gagawin natin? Compute lang natin ang segment income. How do you compute for segment income? That's contribution margin minus avoidable fixed cost. O class, calculator lang to. You don't have to write everything. Sabayan nyo, okay, sabayan nyo, So, magkano ba to? meron tayong sales of 15,000 minus variable cost of goods sold of 8,500 minus variable selling of 3,000. At this point, class, yung nasa calculator natin is 3,500. That's contribution margin. To compute segment income, you simply deduct direct fixed cost or avoidable fixed cost, which is given to us at 1,500 minus 1,500 segment income of the segment B is in fact 2,000. Profit pa yan. If you eliminate segment B, you're also eliminating a profit of 2,000, resulting to a lower net income of 2,000. The correct answer is letter A. Profits will decrease by 2,000. Okay? Letter A. Number 61, class 61. Isa rin to. Tignan nyo si Oak. Class, tignan nyo si Oak Division. Net loss, di ba? Net loss. Basahin natin saglit. The furniture company currently has three divisions, Maple, Oak, and Cherry. The Oak furniture line does not seem to be doing well, and the president of the company is considering dropping this line. Net loss di ba? Ayan, if it is dropped, the revenues associated with the Oak division will be lost, and the related variable cost would be saved. Also, 50% the fixed cost allocated to Oak furniture line would be eliminated. Class, in other words, yun yung avoidable fixed cost niya, which is 1/2 of the fixed cost. Magkano ba fixed cost ni Oak? 14,000. 1/2 of 14,000 is 7,000. Madali na lang yun, class, ha? So, the income statements by division are as follows. Which the following options should be recommended to the president of the company? Class, i-compute lang natin segment income ni Oak. Ganun ulit, 'di ba? Ganun ulit. Given na yung contribution margin na 13,000 minus avoidable fixed of 7,000. Magkano ba segment income nito? Ito sa segment income of 6,000. Okay, 6,000 segment income pa naman. So if it is eliminated, what will happen to overall income of the company? It will decrease by the reported segment income of 6,000. Answer delta, class letter D. Okay, so continue up, letter A. Letter A, sorry. Saan galing letter D, ano? Okay, class, answer is letter A. Continue operating the Oak division as discontinuance would result in a 6,000 decline in operating profits. Continue siya. Answer, letter A. Class, there's another way of computing the 6,000. Ang gagawin mo lang, i-add back mo lang yung allocated cost. Diba class, 14,000, 7,000 is avoidable. Other half, 7,000 is the allocated. Allocated na 7,000, add back to the reported loss of 1,000 is the segment income of still 6,000 pa rin yan. So there are two ways two ways of computing segment income. Pwedeng sa contribution margin minus avoidable fixed or reported net income or loss, add back allocated fixed cost. Okay, answer, letter A. Number 62. Current business segment operations of Fitman MS Retailer are presented below. Isa rin to. Class, tignan mo si restaurant, no? Lugi si restaurant. Tignan natin. Management is contemplating that discontinuance of restaurant segment since it is losing money. If the segment is discontinued, 30,000 of fixed costs will be eliminated. Ayan. In addition, merchandise and automotive sales will decrease 5% from their current levels. So, what will Whitman's contribution margin be if the restaurant segment is discontinued? Class, simple lang to. If it is discontinued, ang maiwan na lang is only si merchandise at saka si automotive na lang. Di ba? So, magkano ba contribution margin nila before restaurant was discontinued? Kay merchandise class, 500 minus 300, ang kanyang contribution margin is originally 200,000. Okay, 200,000. That is for merchandise. Kay automotive naman, 200 minus 200, baka kinalculator mo pa yan, okay, is also 200,000. Yun nga lang, class, ang problema. If restaurant is discontinued, the contribution margin of merchandise and automotive combined will decrease by 5%, di ba? Magdi-decline ng 5%. So, ang naiwan na lang dito is 95% na lang. So, at 95% will give us how much? Okay? Ang combined contribution margin of the entire company after discontinuance of restaurant would be 380,000. Okay, class, answer, 380,000. Letter B. Okay, letter B. Next. Mhm. Number 63. O, class 63. Ano naman to? Sige. Joe Cooper owns and operates an ice cream truck that he drives through residential neighborhoods to sell 5 different treats to the area's children. On average, Cooper sells 100 of each type of treat per day for 120 days per year. Class, pakitake note mo yun. Every day for 100, okay, 100 units each day for 120 working days. I-note mo yun at importante yon. When the weather is warm enough to generate seeds. 4 of his products are profitable, but the other, Creamy Delight, indicates a loss as follows. O, tingnan natin. O nga naman, ano, class, meron siyang loss. May loss per unit of 10 centavos. Ayan, if Cooper cannot raise his selling price, what should happen? O sige, tingnan nga natin to. So, magkano ba yung kanyang contribution margin? Di ba, class? Class, if the problem is silent, pag wala siyang avoidable na fixed, ang titingnan na lang natin dyan is only the contribution margin na lang. So, at this point, it is selling for how much? Magkano selling price natin? It's selling for 1.75 and the cost of each treat is 80 centavos. 80 centavos is the variable component. Yung truck operating cost per unit is that is a fixed component. Ignore natin yon. Tapos ano pa, Joe's salary per unit is also a fixed component. Administrative cost per unit is also a fixed component din yun, class. So, to check the profitability of Creamy Delight, ang titignan lang natin dito is only the selling price versus the cost of each treat to get the contribution margin per unit. So, ganito yan. Okay, ganito yan. Kano ba selling price niya? 1 peso and 75 centavos minus 80 centavos. Ayun. So, meron siyang contribution margin per unit of 95 centavos. 95 centavos, multiply this with, they were able to sell 100 units for every 120 days times 120 days. O, class, i-simplify mo na lang yan. How much is the contribution? How much is the contribution margin generated by Creamy Delight? So, ang contribution margin niya is in fact 11,400. So, 11,400. If you eliminate, by eliminating Creamy Delight, what will happen? We will decrease our contribution margin by 11,400. Ano sabi natin sa inyo noon? The peso effect in contribution margin will have the same effect on net income. If you eliminate 11,400, tanggalin mo yan sa contribution margin mo, net income will also decrease by 11,400 din. O, di ba, class? So, ang tamang sagot dito, you continue selling na lang. You continue selling because, in fact, Creamy Delight is generating you profits of 11,400. Answer is letter C. Continue to sell Creamy Delight to avoid decrease in profit of 11,400. Alright, so I hope nakuha natin yon. Number 64. The data available for the current year is given below. We have whole company, Division 1 and Division 2. So, we have the detailed information relating to its variable cost, fixed cost, net revenue, variable selling, fixed cost controllable by others. O, class, what is fixed cost controllable by others? Tawag natin doon allocated cost yon. Okay, allocated cost na yan. So, ang kagandahan na naman ng problems natin, you're exposed to different terminologies, different situations. Using the information presented above, the net income contributed to the company by Division 1 is how much? Class, segment income lang yan. Okay, segment income. Kayang-kaya na ng calculator natin. Okay, so magkano sa total revenues? The revenues of Division 1 is 600,000 minus the variable manufacturing of 220,000 minus the variable selling and admin of 70,000. At this point, meron tayong contribution margin of 310. 310,000 minus the fixed cost controllable by division managers. That is known as the direct fixed cost, also known as the avoidable fixed cost. Minus 50,000 will give us how much? 260,000 segment income of Division 1. Class, meron pa siyang 260,000 segment 1, segment net income of Division 1. Answer? Letter B. Class letter B. Okay? Number 65. The Doll House, a very profitable company, plans to introduce a new type of doll to its product line. The sales price and cost for the new dolls are as follows. So, meron tayong selling price, variable cost, incremental, annual fixed cost. Okay, annual fixed cost. If 10,000 of the new dolls are produced and sold, the effect on dollhouse profit or loss should be how much? Okay, so class, ano lang to? Titignan lang natin yung possible segment income, di ba? For this line pala, class, this is a product line. So, it is a product line income. Okay, product line income. Term lang naman yung napalitan doon. So, product line income, again, will be the selling price. Tapos, kunin natin yung variable cost, the contribution margin, to get contribution margin, then compute for segment income pa rin. So, pag present ulit natin to, madali lang to, class. Madali lang. Selling price of 100 minus variable cost of 60 pesos. Contribution margin per unit is 40 pesos. Multiply with this with our sales units. The company is planning to sell 10,000 units. Class, pag sinimplify mo to, ang compute natin dyan is total contribution margin. Total contribution margin minus incremental fixed cost of 456,000 is the product line income. Is the product line income of how much? Product line income of, naku patay, net loss pala to, no class? Product line loss of 56,000. Ayan. So, na-net loss na siya na 56,000. If you look at your choices, pag tinignan natin yung choices natin, class, nakalagay na doon si letter A. Okay, letter A na yan. Di ba? Pero what if we want to consider tax effects? Class, pag kinonsider natin yung tax effects, the company is subject to income tax rate of 30%. So, pag tinax effect natin to, ni net of tax natin, that is 70% times 70% will give us how much? Okay? Ang lalabas dito, net loss of 39,200. Okay, net loss of 39,200 net of tax. Answer is letter B or boy. Now, you might be wondering, kasi maraming nagtatanong sa akin tungkol sa problem na to. Sir, di ba, pag net loss ka, hindi ka na subject sa normal corporate income tax. You will now be subject to minimum corporate income tax na. Di ba? Maraming nagtatanong sa akin dito, class, hindi to korporasyon. Ano to? Product line lang yan. Class, product line lang yan. Hindi pa to yung buong corporation. So, the rules on NCIT and MCIT does not yet apply in this situation. Kasi nga, and moreover, class, internal reports lang kasi to. Since internal reports lang to, ano lang yan? Tignan lang natin yung pinaka-net effect niya. So, net effect nito, it is expected that what will happen to our profits? It is expected that net of tax, it will decline by 39,200. Okay, answer class is letter B or boy. Okay, so class, hindi applicable ang MCIT, NCIT kasi product line lang yan. Hindi pa siya yung korporasyon mismo. Okay? So anyway, tuloy natin, 66. O, tignan natin. Capital, ano nga ba yung requirement niya? Ignoring income taxes, the cost relevant to the decision to produce or not to produce the new product would be how much? O sige. Capital company has decided to discontinue a product produced on a machine purchased 4 years ago at the cost of 70,000. O class, analysis lang to ng relevant cost. What is 70,000? Sunk cost, ignore. The machine has a current book value of 30, sunk cost pa rin. Due to technologically improved machinery now available in the marketplace, the existing machine has no current salvage value. The company is reviewing the various aspects involved in the production of a new product. Engineering staff advise that the existing machine can be used to produce a new product. Other costs involved in the production of the new product will be materials of 20, class, relevant yan, future costs that will be incurred if the product is introduced. And labor of 5,000, relevant din yon kasi it will be incurred if the new product is introduced. Ignore income taxes, the cost relevant to the decision to produce or not to produce the new product would be, class, ang dali-dali niyan, 20 plus 5, di ba? 20 plus 5, calculator mo ba? 25,000. Answer was letter D or delta. Ayon. And number 67, class, ang number 67, this is the last problem on the problems pertaining to sell as is or process further a segment or a product line. Okay, so sorry class, continue, discontinue. Okay, anong pinagsasabi ko, ano? Continue, discontinue a product line or a segment. O, 67, last ito. Medyo challenging din to, medyo challenging. So, condensed monthly operating income for Corbin Incorporated for May for May follows. O, tingnan natin muna yung question. Carbon is considering a promotional campaign at suburban store that would not affect the urban store, increasing annual promotional expenses. Increasing annual promotional expense at the suburban store by 60,000 in order to increase the store's sales by 10%. Would result in a month decrease in Carbon's operating income during the year, rounded off as how much? Class, be careful tayo dito. So, pansinin nyo, ano yung binigay na promotional expense na 60? Annual. Di ba? Annual. Tapos ano tinatanong sa'yo? What is for the month? Would result in a monthly. Dun pa lang class, dapat nakita mo na yung misleading information na yun. Anyway, tingnan natin. Basahin muna natin. Condensed monthly operating income data for Carbon. We have urban and suburban. Meron tayong sales, the variable cost and the fixed cost component, segment margin, binigay na niya, no? Additional information regarding Carbon's operations follow. 1/4 of its store's direct fixed costs would continue if either store were closed. Carbon allocates common fixed cost to each store on the basis of the sales pesos. Irrelevant na yan, class. Hindi na natin kailangan para sa problem. Management estimates the closing suburban store will result in a 10% increase in urban store sales, while closing urban store will not affect the suburban store sales. Irrelevant na rin yan, class, kasi hindi naman natin sila isasara. Di ba? I-boost pa nga natin yung sales di ba? Magpapa-advertise pa nga tayo lalo Operating results for mere representative of all months. Class, ano lang to? Cost-benefit analysis lang yan. So, what is the cost and what is the benefit? Yung ating benefit is the 10% increase in monthly contribution margin of suburban. So, dito na lang. Sige, class, dito. What is the benefit? Yung benefit natin is the 10% increase. Magkano nga ba ang contribution margin ni suburban? At this point, ang contribution margin niya is 36,000. 10% increase. Therefore, the benefit is 10% of 36,000 is 3,600. Okay? 3,600 benefit. Versus yung related incremental net increase in cost. What is the net increase in cost? May binigay sa atin. Meron siyang promotional expense, increasing annual promotional expense of 60,000. Class, 60,000 is good for 1 year. Month lang yung tinatanong. So, magkano? 60,000 divided by 12, will give us how much? 5,000 is the cost. Ayan. 5,000 would be the related cost. So, cost-benefit analysis lang to. Unfortunately, class, for you to earn 3,600, you have to spend 5,000. Di ba? Lugi, di ba? Lugi tayo dyan. How much is the net loss? Ayun, meron tayong net loss of 1,400. Net loss, wag na lang. Wag na lang tayong magkaroon ng advertising campaign. It will result to a net loss of 1,400. Answer is Answer in number 67, letter A. Okay, so class, those are, again, the drill questions for continue, discontinue a product line or a segment. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Ito na yung mga questions on product combination with limited resources. Kasama din dito ang capacity planning. So class, ang concern natin dito is how to maximize profits and how to minimize loss. So, ito na yon. Okay, so maraming problems to, and mind you guys, ito yung mga medyo challenging ones, the challenging problems. Number 68. Aspen Company plans to sell 12,000 units of product XT and 8,000 units of product RP. Aspen has a capacity of 12,000 productive machine hours. So class, 12,000 na yung available ha. The unit cost structure and machine hours required for each product is as follows. So, meron tayong unit cost, materials, labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead, machine hours required. Aspen can purchase 12,000 units of XT at 60 pesos and 8,000 units of RP at 45. Based on the above, which of the following actions should be recommended to Aspen's management? Class, this becomes a problem of multiple products make or buy analysis. And which is more advantageous for the company, this is a problem of capacity planning. So, ang starting point natin dito is we need to identify how much is the relevant cost to make and relevant cost to buy of the two products? So, ganito yan. Okay? So, this is XT. Product XT, relevant cost to make. Relevant cost to make, we have materials of 37, labor of 12, and variable overhead of 6. So, 37 plus 12 plus 6 will give us a total of 55. Class, that is 55. Relevant cost to make, XT. If this was purchased from an outsider, the outside supplier is willing to sell it to us at 60 pesos. So, between make or buy, mas maganda na we were going to make kasi nga, there's a 5 pesos, di ba, class net advantage. Anyway, consider pa natin mama yung limited production hours niya. Machine hours required is 1 divided by 1 hour will result to class that is 5 pesos per unit opportunity cost. Opportunity cost if we decide to buy. In contrast naman, do the same with product RP. Si product RP, relevant cost to make product RP, that is 24 plus 13 plus 3 will leave us a total of 40. Okay, relevant cost to make is 40. Relevant cost to buy RP, suppliers is selling this to us at 45 pesos. Ayun. So, if you get the difference, it is also 5 pesos din siya. Yun nga lang, class, limited ang resource. So, ang decision natin dito is yung based on the limited resource, the opportunity cost on limited resource per hour. And it will take you how many hours to produce? 1.5. 1.5. So, opportunity cost per hour natin dito, 5 divided by 1.5 should give us 3.33. 3.33. So, between XT and RP, ano ang priority natin? Class, ang priority natin would be product XT. Kasi mas malaki yung possible na opportunity cost natin. Ano? If this was purchased from an outside supplier. So, ang tamang sagot dito, class, based on above, which one of the following actions should be recommended to expense management? The correct answer is letter A. Okay, produce XT internally. Priority natin to because it will result a higher opportunity cost per hour if it was purchased from an outside supplier. Compared to RP, magkano lang? 3.33. Opportunity cost per hour lang siya if it was acquired from an outside supplier. Answer, letter A. Class, it will become more challenging, ha? So ngayon, kumbaga, groundworks lang to. Tinuturuan lang kita na this is make or buy an opportunity cost analysis. Mas magiging challenging pa to. Okay, caselet naman. Use the following information for the next 3 questions. Stewart Industries has been producing 2 bearings, component B12 and B18 for use in production. We have B12 and B18, machine hours per unit, standard cost, manufacturing overhead, see note 1, and fix see note 2. Stewart's annual requirement for these components is 8,000 units of B12 and 11,000 units of B18. Recently, Stewart's management decided to devote additional machine time to other product lines, resulting in only 41,000 machine hours per year that can be dedicated to the production of the bearings. An outside company has offered to sell Stewart the annual supply of the bearings at a price of $11.25 and for B12 and $13.50 for B18. Stewart wants to reschedule the otherwise idle 41,000 machine hours to produce bearings so that the company can minimize its cost. So kasi class, di ba? Cost minimization tayo kasi iniiwasan natin dito yung opportunity cost. Ayan. So, note 1, variable manufacturing overhead is applied to the basis of direct labor hours. In contrast, fixed overhead is applied to the basis of machine hours. Number 69. The net benefit or loss per machine hour that will result if Stewart accepts the supplier's offer of $13.50 per unit for component B12. Okay, so class, gawin na lang natin lahat. Okay? So, similar to what we did earlier, ganito rin yung magiging starting point natin. Sige, palitan ko lang to. Palitan natin yan. At saka ito. These are the more challenging ones. Capacity planning ang tawag natin dito, class, ha? This is capacity planning. Okay. Sige. Try na lang natin yan. Alright. So, what are the relevant costs to make and relevant costs to buy for product B12 and B18. Okay, relevant cost to make. So relevant cost to make, we have the materials of 225 plus labor of 4 plus variable overhead of 2 will give us how much? That is 8.25. Okay? If this was purchased from an outside supplier, it will cost us how much? Class, if it's purchased from an outside supplier, the supplier is willing to sell it to us at 11.25. So 11.25. There's a difference of how much? Meron tayong difference of 3 pesos per unit. Divided by, it will take us how many hours to produce B12? 2.5. So we're doing the same process, class, ha? So 3 divided by 2.5 will give us how much? That's 1.2. 120. Okay. Next. How about product B? B18. Klase B18 naman, relevant cost to make 3.75 plus 450 plus 2.25 will give us how much? That's 1050. Okay? 1050. And then, relevant cost to buy, if it was purchased from an outside supplier, 1350. Ayan. That's 1350. Difference between the two, still 3 pesos per unit pa rin. Klase ba? Parang pareho lang. Okay? Pero, it will take you how many hours to produce? 3 oras. So, 3 hours. So, will give us 1 peso per hour. 120 per hour opportunity cost per hour. So, ano dapat ang priority natin? Dapat B12, di ba? Ayan. Anyway, class, tingnan muna natin to. Number 69 muna. The net benefit or loss per machine hour that would result if Stewart accepts the supplier's offer of 1350 per unit for component B18. O, class, pag B18, what will happen? You will spend, there's a 1 peso. There's a 1 peso net loss. Di ba, class? Net loss eh. It's better for you to make. If you decide to buy, mapapagasto ka ng 1 peso per hour. So, the correct answer in number 69 is delta. That's delta, 1 peso per hour. Now, number 70. Ganda ng 70, class. Challenging to. Assume that Stewart's idle capacity of 41,000 machine hours has a traceable and avoidable annual fixed cost of 44,000. That will continue if the capacity is not used. The maximum price Stewart would be willing to pay an outside supplier for component B18 is how much? Okay, so class, ang mangyari kasi dito, for us to produce B18, we have to sacrifice B12. Okay, so sacrifice natin si B12. So, ang gagawin natin dito is the concept of minimum price. The concept of minimum price dictates that it is the relevant cost of making the component, yung variable cost niya, plus the opportunity cost arising from the other product because you decided to make B18. Magkakaroon ka ng opportunity cost dito. The trade-off, class, the trade-off. Di ba? So, ngayon, sa decision kasi natin dito, what should be made? Alin dapat ang gagawin natin? We should make B12. Kasi mas mataas yung magiging loss natin, di ba? Ang decision ng company, they will make B18. Ibig sabihin nun, tinanggap nila na malulugi sila ng 120 per hour. So, you have to recover 120 per hour. So, class, I hope nakuha niyo yun. Ulitin ko ha, kasi ito yung pinaka-logic ng analysis. Dito, dapat ang priority is B12 because the opportunity cost is greater at 120 per hour. Tama? Ang problema, yung company, they decided to produce B18. If you decide to produce B18, it will now result to opportunity cost of B12 at 120 per hour. So what is our minimum acceptable price? Ang minimum acceptable price natin, class, is the 1050 relevant cost to make plus the opportunity cost of sacrificing B12, which is 120 per hour. And it will take you how many hours ang i-consume natin to produce 1B18? You will have to consume 3 hours yung i-consume mo. So this will become your total opportunity cost of 360. 360 times plus 360 plus 1050 will give us how much? That should be 14 pesos and 10 centavos. So class, ang tamang sagot doon, 14 pesos and 10 centavos. Okay? So I hope nakuha natin yung explanation. Pag hindi mo nakuha yung explanation, balikan mo lang yung discussion ko kanina. The logic behind. Number 71. Stewart will maximize its net benefits by what? O class, ito na yung number of units to be produced. Ilan nga ba ang production in units natin? And what is our combination of products? O class, ganito yan. Ano priority natin? B12, di ba? So pag B12, B12 muna. Ilang units ba ang B12? The demand for B12 is provided to us. Okay, provided to us at how much? Ilan daw yun? So that is 18,000, no? Ay, sorry, 8,000 pala. That is 8,000 units of B12 that will consume 2.5 hours. So, total consumption nito, 8,000 times 2.5 will already consume 20,000. All in all, we have 1,000 hours available. Work back. May naiwan pa na 21,000 hours for B18. It will take you 3 hours per unit of B18 divided by 3. So, ilan ang kaya natin i-produce for B18? For B18 class, we can still produce 7,000. Okay, 7,000 ang kaya natin i-produce internally. Ibig sabihin nun, ang production natin is 8,000 for B12, 7,000 for B18. But the demand for B18 is how many units? Class, ang demand for B18 is 11,000. Ibig sabihin nun, what will happen to the balance of 4,000 of B18? This must be purchased na dapat yan. Okay, you have to purchase 4,000 units of B18 and produce 8,000 of B12 and 7,000 of B18. Okay, so hanapin ang tamang sagot. Tamang sagot dito, class 71 is letter A. Purchase 4,000 units of B18 and manufacture the remaining bearings as presented sa breakdown natin. Alright? So, challenging, no, class? Biglang naging mahirap yung ginagawa natin. Capacity planning to capacity planning. Ano? So, anyway, let's continue. 72 tayo. Okay, class 72. Madali lang 72. Ano lang tinatanong sa 72? Producing a desk chair requires 1.5 machine hours. Producing a table requires 2.5 machine hours. Which product, if any, is most profitable given the machine hour constraint? O, yan. So, anong problema ni Leslie Corporation? O, class, magbubura muna ako ha, habang binabasa natin yung problem ni Leslie. So, Leslie Corporation manufactures classroom desk chairs and tables. In the present market, the company can sell as many units of product as it can manufacture. So, class, ano yon? Unlimited yung demand. Ayan. So, what it is constrained by its availability of machine hour capacity. Sales price and cost information for each unit of product are shown below. So, we have desk chairs, selling price of 75, variable cost of 60, contribution margin of 15. O, binigay na niya pala, no? So, made our life easier. Tables of 180, tapos 150, contribution margin of 25. Class, madali na lang to. So, laruin na lang natin siya. Compute lang natin yung contribution margin per hour. For desk chairs, it will take you 1.5 machine hours to produce. O, class, 15 pesos divided by 1.5. So, the contribution margin per hour is 10 pesos. Tama, class? 10 pesos for chairs. For tables naman, CMU is 25, but it will take you 2.5 hours to produce one table. So, 25 divided by 2.5 is still 10 pesos pa rin. In other words, class, pareho lang sila ng contribution margin per hour of 10 pesos. So, pagtingin sa choices, ang samang sagot, boy, both products are equally profitable. Answer, letter B. Okay? Next, number 73. Milton Manufacturing occasionally has capacity problems in its metal shaping division, where the chief cost driver is machine hours. In evaluating the attractiveness of its individual products for decision-making purposes, which measurement tool should the firm select? Class, ano sabi natin sa decision-making guides? If there are no limited resources, pag walang limited resource, prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per unit. Okay, pag walang limited resource, prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per unit. But in case there are limited resources, we have to prioritize the product having the highest contribution margin per hour. So, ang tamang sagot dito sa 73 class is boy, letter B. If machine hours do not constrain the number of units produced, it is based on the contribution margin. Pag walang limited resources. If machine hours constrain the number of units produced, decision guide, contribution margin per limited resource, or contribution margin per machine hour. 73 is boy, letter B. Okay? Next. Caselet ulit. Use the following information for the next two questions. Servin Corporation makes two types of motors for use in various products. Operating data and unit cost information for its products are presented below. We have product A and product B. So, nandyan yung annual capacity, nandyan selling price, manufacturing cost components, and everything. So, Servin has 40,000 productive machine hours available. The relevant contribution per machine hour for each product to be utilized in making decision product priorities for the coming year would be how much? And number 75, what is the maximum total contribution margin that Servin can generate in the coming year assuming they make the proper decision? So class, ano muna gagawin natin dito? We determine which product is priority based on the contribution margin per hour. So product A muna. O class, product A. So, selling price. Class, kunin natin si contribution margin per unit muna ha. CMU. Ayan, product A. So, the selling price is 100 pesos minus variable cost of 53. Tapos, you also have our variable selling admin of 10 pesos. So, that should be how much? That is already 37, tama? Contribution margin per unit is 37 pesos. In contrast for product B naman, gawin na natin to. For product B, so product B, that is 80 pesos minus 45 minus 11 pesos will give us how much? That's 24 pesos. Okay, 24. Class, pag wala sanang limited resource, automatic priority natin si A. Diba? Pero, kailangan natin kunin yung contribution margin per hour. So, divide natin siya ng production hours. For product A, it will take you 2 hours to produce. Ayan. For product B, it will take you 1.5 hours to produce. So, this is not the contribution margin per hour. So, 37 divided by 2 will leave us 1850. And for product B, that is 24 divided by 1.5 will give us 16 pesos. So what should be our priority? Ang priority natin, class, is product A. Okay, product A. So, number 74, what are the relevant contribution margins for the decision analysis for product A class, that is 1850, and for product B, that is 16 pesos. Now, to answer number 75, dapat makuha natin yung ating production in units. So, how do we do that? O, class, ganito yan. Ganito yan. So, we have two products, A and B. Ang priority natin is product A. Ilan ang demand for product A? We have 10,000 units demand for product A. Product A will consume 2 hours. So, at this point, 20,000 hours are already consumed. Ilan ang available hours natin? The available hours is provided to us at only 40,000 na lang. So, may naiwan pa tayo na 20,000 for product B divided by 1.5. Ayan, class. Ito na yon. So, 20,000 divided by 1.5 will give us 13,333. 333 units. Yan yung ating magiging production. So, to get the total contribution margin, maximum total contribution margin, you need to multiply the number of units to be produced for product A of 10,000. Actually, class, sa calculator, pwede nang laruin to eh. Itong part na to, pwede ng calculator lang yan. Pero I have to show you. Kasi medyo mahaba yung solution. Since this is in units, di ba class, production in units ito, ibig sabihin nun, i-multiply natin siya ng contribution margin per unit of 37 at saka 24. So, times 37 and 24. And then we get the total. Ayun. So, class, pag sinimplify natin yan, 10,000 times 37 memory plus 13,333 times 24 memory plus memory recall 689,992. Okay? That should be 689,992. Okay, answer? Answer is letter? Answer is letter C. Okay, letter C. So class, at this point, sana master mo na, no? Nasasanay ka na sa mga approaches na ganito. Ayan, malapit na. Tuloy natin, 76. 76 tayo. Moorhead. Moorhead Manufacturing produces two products for which the following date have been tabulated. We have fixed manufacturing costs is applied at the rate of 1 peso per machine hour class. So, tingnan natin to. So, meron tayong clue doon na. So, that is 1 peso per machine hour kasi tingnan mo si XY7. XY7 is 0.75. So, 0.75 yung fixed overhead niya. Ibig sabihin nun, 0.75 lang yung kanyang hours needed to produce 1 unit. Si BD4 naman class, that's 0.2. Ano? So, it simply means 0.2 hours lang ang needed to produce 1 unit. So, the sales manager, given selling price, variable cost, fixed variable selling. The sales manager has had a 106,000 increase in budget allotment for advertising and wants to apply the money to the most profitable product. The products are not substitutes for one another in the eyes of the company's customers. Suppose Moorhead has only 100,000 machine hours that can be made available to produce additional units of XY7 and BD4. If the potential increase in sales units for either product resulting from advertised far in excess of their production capacity, haba class, ano? Which of the following should be advertised and what is the estimated increase in contribution margin earned? Oh, grabe, ano class? Ano gagawin natin dito? Analyzin natin XY7 at saka BD4. I-check natin which will result to the higher contribution margin. Ayun. So, dito ulit tayo. Class, ang gagawin natin, same process. Okay, same process lang yan. So, contribution margin per hour. Tapos, papalitan lang natin to. Ayan. So, class, tanggalin ko na rin to, ha. Tanggalin na natin yan. So, ayun. Okay. So, I hope you're not yet exhausted. Class, sana kaya nyo pa, ha? Kaya nyo pa itong ginagawa natin. Okay? Kapilitan, no? Class, kapilitan. Masterin natin ito. So, ano to? XY7. XY7 at saka BD4. Maganda nga, iba-ibang situation yung nakikita mo, di ba? Na-expose ka sa iba-ibang situations. So, class, kunin natin muna yung contribution margin niya. So, Moorhead. Tama. Contribution margin, selling price of XY7, that is 4 pesos minus variable cost of 2 minus 1 will give us 4 minus 2 minus 1. Kinalculator pa talaga, 1 peso. Okay, that's 1 peso. And for BD4 naman class, 3 minus 1.5 minus 1 will give us 50 centavos. Ang twist lang dito, class, is the production hours. Nabanggit natin kanina ang XY7 is 0.75 hour kasi 1 peso per hour. 0.75 yung fixed cost niya. So that is 0.75 hours. In contrast, si BD4 naman, class, that's 20 centavos or that's 0.2 hours. 0.2. Di ba? Something new. Yan, class, i-compute na natin 1 divided by 0.75 will give us 1.33 versus 0.5 divided by 0.2 will give us 250. So, what should be our priority? Class, ang priority dapat natin dito is BD4. That should be our priority kasi mas mataas yung magiging contribution margin per hour niya. So, now, alam natin na BD4. So, ilang units ngayon ang iproproduce natin? So, at this point, we have how many machine hours available? Class, meron tayong 100,000 machine hours available. May shortcut ito. Ang shortcut nito, this is contribution margin per hour na 250. So, this is contribution margin per hour of 250. To get the answer immediately, i-multiply mo lang ng available hours na 100,000. So, times 100,000 will give us how much? 200. That's 250,000. Class, hindi na natin ito kinonvert. Yung 100, hindi na natin kinuha. Pwede naman kung gusto natin. 100,000 Tapos, divided by, ilan kaya yung ating production dito? 100,000. Tapos, number of units that can be produced, di ba? So, kukunin natin yan. Tapos, i-multiply natin ng CMU. Okay? Kasi contribution margin per unit, pag in units yun. Pero ang shortcut nito, class, pwede rin naman, contribution margin per hour, multiply with number of hours devoted for that product, total contribution margin pa rin yun. Another approach. Okay, another approach. So in fact, pati sa mga previous problems natin kanina, pwede natin gawin yan. Okay, pwede natin gawin. Example, nasan ba yung kanina? Meron na bang tinanong na net income? Okay. So, wala pa naman yata. Anyway, class, pwedeng ganyan na approach. Okay, alternate methods. So, tamang sagot sa number 76 is letter C. Okay, letter C. Next, number 77 tayo. 77. Product A tsaka product B ulit ito. Product combination na to. Similar to a problem that we answered earlier. So, number 77, Lag Indices accepted the contract to provide 30,000 units of product A and 20,000 units of product B. Large staff developed the following information with regard to meeting this contract, where product A and product B, selling price, variable cost, fixed overhead, machine hours required, machine hours available, 160 lang, cost if it is outsourced. Ito na, no? So, class, what is number 77? Again, this is capacity planning. Capacity planning siya, pero meron na tayo ngayon number of units that must be produced. Large operations manager has identified the following alternatives. Which alternatives should be recommended to large management? O class, tignan natin, di ba? Ano nga ba ang kailangan nating, ano yung mga analysis natin dyan? Ano priority product? So, tanggalin ulit natin to, ha? Ayan. So, magbabago ngayon to, class. Kasi this is not a problem of what? This is make or buy. Yan, capacity planning to. So, it becomes a problem of make or buy. Make or buy, and then what should be the priority and opportunity cost if it was purchased from an outside supplier. Okay. So, ganito. So, product A ulit. Make or buy of product A. Relevant cost to make product A. The relevant cost to make product A is the variable cost. Okay, the variable cost of 30 pesos. So class, I'm showing nyo ha. Pwede naman tong direct computations pero you might be confused kasi pag binili natin to, magkano? Cost if outsourced, that is 45. So between making and buying, it is better if you make the component because there's an advantage of 15 pesos per unit. Net advantage. Yun nga lang, since limited yung constraint, yung ating resource may constraint, we identify per limited constraint. So, it will take you how many machine hours to produce product A? 3. Divided by 3 hours, ibig sabihin nun, what is the opportunity cost? Per hour. Opportunity cost per hour of product A would be 5 pesos. Versus product B. Class, product B naman. Relevant cost to make product B is the variable cost given to us at 48 pesos. Versus relevant cost to buy. Relevant cost to buy, pag binili natin to, 60 pesos. There's a difference of 12 pesos. Di ba class? Per unit. Divided by, it will take you how many hours? Machine hours required is 5. So, magkano opportunity cost per hour natin? That is 2 pesos and 40 centavos. Between product A and product B, mas malaki yung magiging opportunity cost natin for product A if it was purchased from an outside supplier. Mapapagasto tayo. So, anong priority natin? Priority should be product A. So, what should be our production for the period? Yan to yan, class. Priority A natin. So, priority A is A. What is the demand? The demand of A is 30,000 units. Times 3 hours will give us 90,000. Ilan ang total available hours natin? The total available hours is provided to us at 160. Okay, 160. So, ibig sabihin nun, work back class, work back mo lang yan. O, baka malito kayo doon. Okay, hindi ito maigi na bura. Ayan, tanggalin natin yung nasa gilid. 90,000 lang yan. Okay? May naiwan pa tayo. na 70,000. So, ilan kaya ang pwede pa natin produce? Divided by 5, di ba class? 5 hours for product B. Yun. So, 70 divided by 5 will give us 14,000. So, class, ang production natin, 30,000 of product A, 14,000 of product B. Yung tinanggap natin is 20,000 units for product B. So, ibig sabihin nun, meron pa tayong 6,000 units to be purchased for product B para masatisfy natin yung tinanggap natin na order na 30,000 units of A and 20,000 units of B. Profit maximization pa rin to. Alright? So, the correct answer is letter C. Okay, class, letter C. So, that is make units of product A. Yan, product A. Utilize the remaining capacity to make product B, which is 14,000 of product B, and outsource the remainder, 6,000 of product B. Okay, so I hope nasundan natin yan, di ba? May kamukha tong problem na sinolve natin kanina. Ayan. And finally, class, last na ito, the geary manufacturing. Ganun din yung problem natin sa geary manufacturing, similar to this ulit yan. Okay, similar na naman siya dito. So, production capacity, gagawin din natin yan mamaya. So, at this point, dapat expert ka na. Okay? So, last problem. Geary Manufacturing has assembled a data pertaining to two popular products as follows. Class, I will erase as we read. Past experience has shown that the fixed manufacturing overhead component included in its cost per machine hour averages 10 pesos. O, class, may clue tayo doon. The fixed overhead is 10 pesos per hour. So, Geary has a policy of filling all sales orders, even if it means purchasing units from an outside supplier, similar to what we did in the previous problems. So, tanggap lang ng tanggap. Pag hindi kayang i-produce, outsource na lang, pero ibenta pa rin sa company's own selling price. And then we have a blender and electric mixer. Material stable overhead. Okay, class, tignan nyo to ha. We have the factory overhead that is 16 pesos per hour. Ibig sabihin nun, si blender, 1 hour lang kasi 16, di ba? Importante yon kasi nakalagay dito, the fixed overhead is 10 pesos per hour. Ibig sabihin nun, ang variable overhead ni blender is 6 pesos. I-note mo kagad yun at importante yon. Kay electric mixer naman class, 32. So, 2 hours yan. So, 2 hours, magkano variable niya? 6 pesos per hour times 2, 12 pesos ang variable ni electric mixer. Now, you might be wondering, sir, saan ulit nanggaling yung 6 pesos na yan? 10 pesos fixed overhead per hour given. 16 pesos total overhead per unit given. 16 minus 10, 6 pesos the variable per hour. Oh, class, malinaw yun ha? Malinaw yun. Cost if purchased from an outside supplier, annual demand in units. If 50,000 machine hours are available and Geary Manufacturing desires to follow an optimal strategy, it should produce what? Class, pag sinabi natin optimal strategy, the one that will maximize profits. The one that will minimize total cost. Okay? So, ganun ulit. Make or buy na naman to. So, ito si blender. Relevant cost to make. O, magkano nga ba? So, as stated earlier, meron siyang materials of 6 pesos, labor of 4, variable overhead of 6. Okay, variable overhead of 6. Total of 16. O, relevant cost to make is 16 versus relevant cost to buy. Pag binili natin to, it will cost us how much? If it was purchased from an outside supplier, it will cost us 20 pesos. So, may advantage siya na 4 pesos per unit. Kunin ulit natin per hour. Tama? Paulit-ulit na lang to class. Divided by production hours. For blender, it will take you 1 hour. Okay, class, nireconstruct natin yan ha. Sa 16, di ba? 16 divided by 16 is 1 hour. So, this is now the opportunity cost per hour. That's 4 pesos. Do the same with electric mixer. Electric mixer, make. Relevant cost to make electric mixer. San ba to? That is 11 pesos plus 9 pesos. Plus variable component, plus variable overhead nito, di ba? 2 hours. 2 hours at 6 pesos per hour, that's 12. plus 12 will give us a total of 32. Relevant cost to make is 32. Relevant cost to buy is already provided to us. Magkano relevant cost to buy? Relevant cost to buy from an outside supplier is 38. There's a difference of how much? Difference of 6 pesos per unit. So, pag ganyan lang, again, mas maganda, no? We would rather make, di ba? We would rather make. And it will take you 2 hours. Ayan. So, magkano opportunity cost per hour? Opportunity cost per hour is 3 pesos. So, ano dapat ang priority natin? Ang priority natin is blender muna. We need to produce blender muna. So, ilang oras ba yung available? O class, ito na yon. So, malapit na. Patapos na to. The total hours provided to us is a total of 50,000 machine hours. The demand for each product is 20 and 28. So, since blender ang priority natin, we're going to produce the demand of 20,000 units which will consume 1 hour. So, total consumption is already 20,000 hours. Ang available na hours natin, ilan ba available na hours? 50,000, di ba? Ayan, 50,000. Work back mo siya, may naiwan pa na 30,000. Class, at this point, dapat expert ka na kasi paulit-ulit na tong process natin. Divided by 2 hours. Okay? So, ito na si electric mixer. 15,000. Ayan. Tama, 15,000? Yes, 15,000. So, ang production natin, we're going to produce 20,000 units of blender, 15,000 units of electric mixer, but to satisfy the demand, ilan ba ang demand ng electric mixer? 28, di ba? So, 28,000. Ibig sabihin nun, meron pa tayong kulang na 13,000 to be purchased from an outside supplier for the electric mixer. So, ito yung magiging production natin and purchases of electric mixer. Complete na yan. Nasatisfy na natin yung demand of the blenders and electric mixers. So, class, pag tinignan natin, nasan yung tamang sagot? Answer in number 78 is letter A. Produce 20,000 blenders and 15,000 electric mixers and purchase all other units as needed. Class, aning all other units as needed? Ito, 13,000 units of electric mixer as needed. Okay? So class, that is the end of our discussion on the drill questions of relevant costing. Class, pansin nyo naman, ang computation natin sa relevant costing napakasimple. At deduct, compare the difference. Nasaan yung challenging part? How to interpret what was computed, how to analyze what was computed to determine what is the effect on net income. Tama? So if I were you, ang gagawin ko, advice ko sa inyo is mag-practice ka na mag-practice para maging expert tayo on how to use this in decision making, how to interpret it in decision making. Okay, so class, that is the end of our discussion on the drill questions of relevant costing.